people do care and have a respect for the military.
He added,
just the thought of him coming out here and being laid to rest without anybody, I couldn't tolerate that. I had to be here.
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are down before an inflation update this morning that gauges consumer prices last month before the war started. At the World Baseball Classic, Team USA lost, upset by Italy 8-6, putting the Americans in jeopardy of being eliminated. If Italy beats Mexico tonight, the U.S. advances to the quarterfinals. If Mexico wins but scores 4 runs or less, the U.S. is out. In the NBA, Bam Adebayo scored 83 points in Miami's win over Washington, the second most in a game ever. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
Attention all listeners, financial planners, CPA, and divorce attorneys. In 2021, there were over 420,000 licensed loan originators. Today, that number is down to 93,000. That's a reduction of over 75% of licensed loan officers within the past 4 years. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's still in business. While mortgage companies have been closing and hundreds of thousands of loan officers have left the business since 2021, Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever and would love to earn your business. Let's review. Hundreds of mortgage companies have closed down and over 327,000 loan officers exited the mortgage business, while Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever. If you'd like to work with experienced mortgage professionals who'll appreciate your business, call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
Hello, can I have your attention, please? My name is Hugh McKenty, and I'm a devout listener of The Answer. They have partnered with Food for the Poor consistently for the last few years. In the past, I've always wanted to participate, but unfortunately never had the extra cash at the end of the year to do so. But last weekend, I received the mail, and there was a bonus check for $2,500 from Mack Truck for selling commercial vehicles. I decided that I was all in. As I mentioned, I sell commercial vehicles. Everything from Mack, Volvo, Hino, Isuzu, new and used. I've been selling for over 30 years in the Chicagoland market. Call me at 630-918-9534 or check me out on the web. Google my name, Hugh McKenty, and Hugh is spelled H-U-G-H, McKenty is spelled M-C-K-E-N-T-Y. All right, thank you very much for your time.
To contact Hugh McKenty, search Hugh McKenty on LinkedIn or call 630-918-9534. That's 630-918-9534.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Progressive Insurance knows pets, and one of the biggest differences between people and pets is that we don't eat things off the floor. But dogs definitely will, and it makes them so happy, no matter what it looks like, smells like, or what state of decomposition it's in. We all want to go through life that carefree, and that's also why you should get Progressive Pet Insurance, because they eat things off the floor. So protect your pet from all the questionable life decisions they make. You know where they drink from when you're gone, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
Hi, it's me, Flo, here to tell you that with the Progressive Home and Auto Bundle, you get 24/7 protection, so you're covered no matter where the day takes you.
Even I added too much water to the pizza dough day?
Yep.
How about getting a call from my daughter to pick her up at the airport because her boyfriend is unreliable day?
Especially that day.
What about finding out that one of my pipes suddenly burst in my basement day?
Progressive has every day covered 24/7 with the Home and Auto Bundle. Also, you have a lot of bad days.
Oh no, that was all the same day.
At least you're covered with Progressive.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, Affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Mike Gallagher explains his thoughts on the Iran bombings.
Look, overwhelming support of this administration's decision to join Israel in wiping out the Ayatollah and over 40 members of the Iranian leadership. We're in a spiritual war. This is about good versus evil.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's March 11th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. It's National Worship of Tools Day. Whether you're a professional repairman or just a handyman who works around your home, you should own and know how to take care of a basic set of tools. Chances are you may already have some tools laying around where you live, so take the time to go out to your shed or garage or down into your basement and organize and clean your tools, and if need be, buy some new ones. Also on this date, in 1892, the very first March Madness game is played in Springfield, Massachusetts, as a crowd of 200 were on hand at the Armory Hill YMCA for the first public basketball game. The final score, the students beat the teachers 5-1. And in 1918, U.S. Army mess cook Private Albert Gitchell of Fort Riley, Kansas, becomes the first documented case of Spanish flu. The global pandemic would go on to claim the lives of more than 50 million people. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Ted Dabrowski. I'm running for governor to breathe new life into our party and improve the quality of life in our state. Let's be honest about how we defeat Pritzker. Victory runs through the suburbs, and Darren Bailey is a disaster in the suburbs. To renominate him is to concede defeat. It's why Pritzker wanted to run against him 4 years ago and wants to again. Do you really want to experience these headlines again?
Governor J.B. Pritzker will serve another 4 years in office.
This was a resounding victory for Governor Pritzker.
The race was called just minutes after the polls closed.
Pritzker had a sizable advantage in Chicago and its suburbs.
I am the only candidate who can win the suburbs and end Pritzker's reign. It's why leading pro-lifers, American firsters, and conservative reformers support me. Republicans should always nominate the most conservative candidate who can win. That's me. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission: to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The smartest self-defense decision is not made in the moment. It's made before danger ever appears, because when you pull a firearm trigger, well, you're not just stopping a threat. You may be starting a chain of legal, financial, emotional consequences that can follow you for years. Now, that's why more responsible Americans are choosing to lead with a less lethal option that is effective. That's where Byrna, their less lethal launchers, it fires tear gas, kinetic rounds, pepper spray. It's designed to stop any attacker for up to 40 minutes, and it gives you time to escape. It gives you time to create distance and get help without using deadly force. Now, Byrna's best-selling compact launcher is sleek, it's slim, it's incredibly powerful. It's built for discreet, everyday carry, no background check. They can ship it directly to your door. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your future. Start with less lethal. Visit byrna.com today and find the right launcher for you and your family. That's byrna.com today.
Your beloved dog and a stranger are both drowning. You can only save one. Who do you save? Every time Dennis Prager asks that question, his audience splits 3 ways. 1/3 chooses the dog, 1/3 chooses the stranger, and 1/3 aren't sure. Why? Because we live in an age where increasingly feelings define right and wrong. But if morality is based on emotion, then murder, rape, and theft are just opinions. And if people feel justified, why is rioting or destruction wrong at all? In his new book, If There Is No God, Dennis Prager explains why civilizations cannot survive without objective moral morality and why Judeo-Christian values shape the moral foundations of the free world.
If you claim that certain things are good, certain things are evil, independent of how you feel about it, you are in effect affirming God.
If There Is No God by Dennis Prager. Available now at PragerStore.com. That's PragerStore.com.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
What did it cost to put a Bible into your hands in English? Calvary Baptist Church Tinley Park presents a powerful look back at the valiant men who gave us the Holy Bible. Make plans now to view the Bible Collection, a showcase of antique Bibles and historic works tracing the journey from the original Greek text compiled by Erasmus, Stephanus, and Beza to the English translation work of William Tyndale, leading up to the King James Version, March 15th through the 18th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. For details, visit CalvaryBaptistTinley.com.
All right, Vito, you best be letting me in and having a look around.
Officer Murphy, hello. Yeah, this is Vito's Vault. We're definitely not a dinner theater speakeasy, where you can get dinner, drinks, and an amazing musical comedy show, plus free parking, all for one low price.
Oh, that's too bad. I was going to bring me dear sweet mother to see your show.
Well, why didn't you say so? Come on in.
Vito's Vault, Chicago's new Roaring 20s dinner theater speakeasy. For tickets, go to vitosvault.com.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus with a message of perseverance, faith, and a shared global destiny.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before, since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture. We don't accept what he wants to do with the nation. If we keep fighting, we win.
Powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller, The Dragon's Prophecy, combines history and scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza, now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Hey, Josh Hawley, I mean, pump the brakes a little bit, all right? Boy, oh boy. How jittery are congressional Republicans? This jittery. Josh Hawley on Waters last night.
Well, I think that he's achieved his objectives the way that he's laid them out. And you just put it beautifully, Jesse. I mean, what is there really that's left to do that we haven't already done? I mean, we have demonstrated to the world and anybody who's watching, by the way, that we have overwhelming military superiority and we know how to use it. We have totally destroyed forever their nuclear program. We have destroyed their ballistic missiles. We have destroyed their Navy. I mean, this has been a total success in whatever it's been, 11 days. And I thought the president's remarks last night that he could declare victory today and it would be a 100% victory. I think it's true. I think we ought to say to our heroes, thank you for a job well done. This has been absolutely amazing. It's been astounding. It's been historic. And now it's time to declare victory.
Yeah, 312-642-5600. Give us a call or text if you'd like. That's all true in terms of what the military has demonstrated, and it's been flawless. And I can appreciate wanting to go out on top and all that. But, I mean, no, we're not there yet. Destroyed their nuclear program forever. That's how jittery they are. And look, based on most everything you're hearing, because Trump likes to color outside the lines and the unconditional surrender business and picking the leader business, gets people understandably concerned. Is this going to be a longer engagement than initially advertised? But everything else is pretty tight, starting with the actual military operations. But, I mean, against the backdrop of what Josh Hawley was saying, you had this briefing yesterday from Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane. I mean, declare victory. Yesterday was the most intense day of the campaign so far.
Today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead. Instead, we're winning decisively with brutal efficiency, total air dominance, and an unbreakable will to accomplish the president's objectives on our timeline.
So, that's pretty straightforward, I mean, in terms of what the position is. And in addition to the nuclear program not being demolished forever or even sort of in the present, we still have shipping lanes to open, and that where progress was made over the last 24 to 36 hours with taking out some of these vessels that have been planting mines in the Strait of Hormuz. So there is stuff to do. Dan Kane gets into it more detail, which we'll get to in a second. But just on the nuclearization program, their nuclear program is gone forever and ever. Amen. It is not. Trump talked just this past Monday about, essentially, he made a comment that the Iranians were trying to reconstitute their program at a different site before the war, protected by granite. He was clearly talking about Pickaxe Mountain, where Iran could build a uranium enrichment plant. That site has yet to be attacked. So, and it's a difficult target. And it's unclear, at least based on what I've read, whether or not bombing will be sufficient. It may require some sort of special forces operation to get at whatever the Iranians have going on inside that facility, inside that mountain, whatever sort of facility they've stood up. So, I mean, let's just look, 4 to 5 weeks. I understand the concern that, once the first shot's fired, all the best laid plans can go awry, all the contingencies, all the variables, the things you couldn't predict. But there are still things to do. There are objectives that are being achieved, but have not yet been completely achieved. They're in process of success, but they are not fully realized successes yet. And this is what General Kane laid out.
The Joint Force remains focused on 3 military objectives: continue to destroy Iranian ballistic missiles and drone capability in order to prevent attacks on the U.S. and others throughout the region. And this means attacking launch sites, command and control nodes, stockpiles before they can threaten our personnel, our facilities, and our partners. Second, we continue to strike the Iranian Navy and their capabilities in order to do things like sustain movement through the Straits of Hormuz. And third, we continue to start working on and going deeper into Iran's military and industrial base in order to prevent the regime from being able to attack Americans, our interests, and our partners for years to come and project power outside their borders. This means servicing production facilities, research and development sites, and infrastructure.
Right. So the point here is this is more than about a show of force, like Holly was talking about. Look how spectacular our military is. We wiped out maybe a little bit less than half of Iran's navy in the first 3 days. We have completely diminished. I should say we've severely diminished their capacity to retaliate. And this is what Dan Kane addressed next.
Our strikes mean we've made significant progress in reducing the number of missile and drone attacks out of Iran. Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward, 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 83% since the beginning of the operation. A testament to our air defenders and our air defense systems, and as I said, our partners in the region continue to do great work as well.
So, everything is in process and moving according to plan and ahead of schedule, but it's not done. It's not done. And you still want to provide more avenues for a popular revolt to displace this regime when what is left undone at this point is no longer left undone. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Lewis, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Hey, you have to remember, what is Trump derangement syndrome? Distractions. That's what it is. Okay, now, have you heard yesterday Benjamin Netanyahu? He told the Iranians, get ready. What he was talking about, it's over with. Our technology, we have destroyed them with our technology and our artificial intelligence. We can hit them anytime we want to. And also, We have stopped the Chinese from having a foothold in Iran, and we stopped the Russians. The game is over with.
It's not over. Thanks for the call, Louis. I appreciate the perspective, but it's not over. First of all, Bibi doesn't think it's over. Bibi's objectives and ours, Israel's objectives and ours, are aligned, but they're not, completely the same. For example, they seem, from every indication, to be much more committed to sustaining their campaign until they see regime change. That's not where we are at. At least that's not anything that has been stated. Now, again, I understand the confusion that some of Trump's braggadocio creates. But there has been no move to say that this campaign will continue until we get a leader we want. I want a choice and I want to influence in picking the next leader. I want unconditional surrender. But then they redefine unconditional surrender as whenever we say they've unconditionally surrendered, whether they say it or not. So that's not, that's not the same thing as unconditional surrender, what that phrase normally means. Now, other people have redefined it in even more ridiculous ways, like Tucker Carlson. I'll spare you that for now. So aligned with Israel, but Israel is much more dogmatic about regime change than the Trump administration is at this point. And there is more to do. Yes, much has been accomplished in 10 short days, but this is an opportunity that has been presented the Trump administration and America because of the approach that Trump has taken in this region in both of his terms. Iran is, as we have discussed, perhaps weaker than it has been since the revolution in 1979. And there's an opportunity to be seized here. You don't want a forever war, but you don't want to do what we did in Gulf War I and pull up short when you can finish the job. And I understand that is, there's art to that. That is a balancing test. But in terms of the framework for this military operation, the Trump administration is still well within it. It enjoys popular support. Our military is executing brilliantly. And when you have your foot on your enemy's neck, press down. So let's do that.
We're making substantial progress towards destroying the Navy. In the first 10 days of the conflict, we're more than 50 Iranian naval ships into the campaign using a combination of artillery, fighters, bombers, and sea-launched missiles. As Admiral Cooper noted last Thursday, we struck and sank an Iranian drone carrier ship, and U.S. CENTCOM continues today to hunt and strike mine-laying vessels and mine storage facilities. This work will continue. Third, against our objectives, we've begun to target Iran's military and industrial complex, again, focusing on centers of gravity to get upstream of the shooters out in the field in order to deny them the ability to continue to generate those one-way attack drones.
Right. So eliminate that capacity altogether. Don't allow them to project power, not outside the region, outside their own borders. And as was mentioned, and Trump also posted about it yesterday, 10 inactive mine-laying vessels were destroyed. I always wish they'd give context on this. 50 ships have been destroyed. Well, how big is the Iranian Navy? Anybody want to know that? 50 out of 5,000, 50 out of 500, 50 out of about, what is a reported 109, 110 vessels. So significant. But as I said, since we have degraded their capacity and severely limited their ability to retaliate, let's finish that job, don't you think? Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yes, I think Josh Hawley should worry about passing the SAVE Act and not jumping on Fox News and running his mouth. I think even Condoleezza Rice, I'm no fan of George Bush, but I think she was a good Secretary of State, tried to explain to get this job done once and for all. And these people are like, they're like rats. They're all over the place. It's going to take quite a while to get this done. And even after the big military show, it's going to take some time to weed these people out and finish this job. And Israel is getting attacked now by Hezbollah. And
now that's an everyday occurrence now.
Exactly. But I mean, they thought that they were going to lay down or something. That's not going to stop. And
they didn't.
And same with right out of Lebanon too. I mean, they've got a whole nother objective that they have in mind. And
thanks for the call, Mark. Well, I mean, that was completely anticipated. And Hezbollah took on a lot of water in response to the October 7th terrorist attacks and the Israeli response to that. And they're taking on more now. Fine. Let's diminish Iran and diminish their proxies as well. All right. Yeah, you will stick with this. We'll take a few more calls on this if people want to opine. I want to fold in this interesting interview that Richard Nixon gave in 1983, 4 years after the revolution in Iran, talking about the Shah versus the revolutionaries. Instructive in terms of understanding some of the foreign policy mistakes that America makes and the generations-long implications of said mistakes. Dealing with the Shah is a good example. How America dealt with the Shah may be a very good example of that. And again, let's learn some of the lessons of history and apply them. 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 42 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Stace Kane in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The town of Kankakee has suffered extensive damage after being struck by a large tornado yesterday afternoon. That tornado touched down about 50 miles south of Chicago, causing major damage to the south side of Kankakee City. Tornadoes were also confirmed in northwest Indiana. In addition to the twisters, golf ball and softball-sized hail rained down on the Chicagoland area, causing damage to homes and cars. CTA officials have announced their plans to increase security. The Transit Authority says they plan to increase police patrols by 75%. Officials say they also plan to increase policing hours by 34%, and they plan to provide 30 shelter beds for unhoused riders at a cost of nearly $1.7 million. CTA was tasked with creating a more comprehensive safety plan to protect riders and employees or risk losing $50 million in federal funding. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Having trouble sleeping? Visit Mattress Firm during the Upgrade Your Sleep sale. Their sleep experts will help you find your perfect bed from a premium selection of top brands. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Hugh Hewitt agrees it had to be done.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack if we didn't do it. They were really a purveyor of terror all over the world for many, many years, and it's something that had to be done.
It had to be done. Trump had the courage to do it. Good for him, good for Netanyahu.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Before we get back to the geopolitics of the military campaign in Iran, a couple of inspired moments yesterday that I wanted to make sure people saw and heard. One of them was that the Australians essentially provided asylum for female Iranian soccer players who wanted to not return to their country. The Iranian soccer team, women's Iranian soccer team, playing a match in Australia, and this video went viral of them refusing to sing their national anthem during the pregame, and what punishment awaited them upon their return was an open question. Dana Perino reporting on Trump urging the Australian Prime Minister to provide asylum for those who wanted it, and him doing so.
Then, after the team's elimination from the tournament, fans tried to block their bus from leaving, fearing the punishment that awaited them at home. President Trump called on Australia to grant the team asylum. Australia extended the offer, and 5 players accepted it. Here's the Prime Minister.
We're willing to provide assistance to other women in the team, noting that this is a very delicate situation and it is up to them. But we say to them, if you want our help, help is here, and we will provide that.
Well, hat tip to the Aussies on that one. It's not something you get to say very much, at least related to politics. The other was the funeral service of Lonnie Wayman. Lonnie Wayman is one of the 7 soldiers who've been killed in action since hostilities began. And apparently he had no known family. I saw this going around a couple of days ago. People saying, show up to this church in Tennessee where Lonnie Wayman will be laid to rest because he has no known family, but, let him know that he has the unyielding gratitude of Americans for his service to our country, and that's exactly what happened. If you've seen the videos, hundreds of people who did not know Lonnie Wayman showed up to pay their respects. It was really quite a beautiful thing. The chaplain addressed those who attended.
The word out, and look what happened. Heart showed up to say, thank you, Lord, for our freedom. Thank you, Lord, for someone else who served in uniform. Thank you for the example for the next generation. How absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful indeed. So rest in peace, Lonnie Wayman. Matt, South Bend, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Just prayers to the family of that officer that was killed, or the enlistment. It was just my thoughts that back when even Desert Storm, Schwarzkopf said this is a different culture. We need to go by their rules. I mean, Trump even incited and said Saudi Arabia says this about how they have to see this, this is going to be, a complete. And so I want to follow the commander-in-chief. Wait till his saying. I mean, everybody's throwing sign bites out there. They need to just put that at a lower level. I mean, it's all about Trump doing it right and the accountability of the United States and Israel finishing the job.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I'm going to take the off so it doesn't garble it. Hey, listen, you're dead on right about this not being over, and the biggest way to look at it is because the military did a great job on basically making a clear way to get in there and really somehow complete the job. But as long as you have so many of these Iranian military, IRCG or whatever they are in there, and that they're dangerous. They're like a dog that got run over. It's got some broken legs and everything like that, but it's still swinging its head around trying to bite whoever the hell it can bite. And basically what they really have to do is remove a whole bunch of them and bust that all up now and get some other people in there, whether it be those Kurds or whatever, somebody to come in there and to keep them busy, and that so that they can be a help to the people there, so those people can basically be in charge and they can get some kind of change of government there and that.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Well, we'll see about all that. I don't think that there's any idea about trying to unnecessarily decimate the Revolutionary Guard. That's some 150,000 strong. But certainly the need to ensure that Iranians' ability, just going back to what was said by General Kane, to project power outside its borders is nullified for the foreseeable future. So that requires getting into the weeds a little bit on terms of understanding what has and has not been done with respect to their nuclear weaponization program. And then the things that are much more easy to identify. What is the status of their ballistic missile cache? What is the their drone, their sort of the industrial manufacturing complex, industrial complex, their ability to produce drones, their ability to rebuild their Navy, all of those things. This is, it's something that Ed Follner was fond of saying, the former head of the Heritage Foundation. Political and even military victories and or defeats are temporary. So let's not, for time immemorial, this is how it shall be. No. You're trying to set up a situation that is better for America, starting with us, for the foreseeable future, and our allies. Because what's better for our allies is better for us. And also, ultimately, the Iranian people, if we can provide, again, an avenue by which they can improve their lot in life in their country. I think that's the rank order priority. I think that's the achievable objective. But we can't do all of it for them, which is something that we're resisting this time when maybe in other combat operations in the region. We haven't. Mike Union, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, just something that's never really brought up, and I would like to see maybe the Israeli Defense Forces, maybe they can put some of their boys on the ground over there. Seems like everything they're doing is from a distance. I don't know. I just different perspective, Dan. You know? Thanks
for the call, Mike. I wouldn't be so sure about that. I mean, the intel sharing that's going on between America and Israel. I don't know that I can't speak with certainty that it includes assets on the ground inside of Iran, but I can suggest confidently I believe that. I mean, I don't think the Israelis are afraid to put their people in harm's way if that's what's called for in furtherance of their nation's security. So, let me just pull back and just say this. Israel didn't instigate us into these strikes. We're not doing Israel's dirty work for Israel. Let's just stop with that. There is just no factual basis for it. So I think we should maybe spend less time with a jaundiced eye in the direction of our ally, and let's keep our skepticism focused, particularly in these times, in a time of war, dare I say, focused on the enemies and the enemy's enablers. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, can't we send one of our sanctuary governors over there and destroy them from within?
Yeah. Thanks, George. It's a fun suggestion. If only, open borders in Iran were attractive to anybody, right? The great problem is that people do want to come to America. Most of these other countries, open borders isn't such a problem. I don't think there's a lot of people trying to break into Iran, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. I want to get to this. It's a fascinating interview Nixon gave. Richard J. Daley, Richard M. Nixon, sorry. Richard Milhouse Nixon, yes. Inspired, Milhouse on The Simpsons, his name. Nixon understood the mechanics of Iran in the Middle East, the dynamics. I mean, Nixon was a lot of things that are less than laudatory, but he was also a very, very intelligent guy and a very shrewd geopolitical thinker. And there are definitely some lessons as we're looking back in the last 47 years and what the revolution in Iran has wrought for the West in general. I mean, the Middle East, the West, and America in particular. I mean, no state has sponsored more killing of Americans than Iran over the last 47 years. So was there anything, if we went back in time, we might have done differently in addition to electing Jimmy Carter? The choice at the time, Shah versus the Shah versus the revolutionaries.
Let's look at the Shah for just a moment and look at him very fairly. He actually was a progressive in a number of ways. He instituted a land reform program. He instituted a literacy program. He sent thousands of students from Iran to the United States, and particularly the United States, to study, and in other countries as well. He liberated women. The irony was that those he liberated these particular issues, whereas his opponents were the reactionaries. Putting it very bluntly and very simply, the Shah was trying to move Iran into the 20th century. His opponents, Khomeini et al., wanted to move Iran back into the Dark Ages, and that's what they've done. Now, there was some repression, true. Now there is total repression. There may not have been enough land reform. Now there is none whatever. What I am simply suggesting is this, that when we look at the Shah, we have to look at him in terms of what he confronted. And he confronted revolutionary forces there that were not working, in my view, for what was best for Iran and certainly not best for ourselves. And most important from the United States standpoint, instead of having a friend in Iran, we now have one that is not only not a friend, but one that considers us to be the great Satan. See, the choice basically was not between the Shah and somebody better. The choice was between him and somebody worse. And it's very easy for me to make that choice.
Yeah, and these are the choices that you actually confront in the real world. It's not the choice between what is versus utopia. The choice, it's between two flawed outcomes. And you have to make a real world assessment about which is infinitely worse, as Nixon said. I also find the fact that the Shah liberalized Iran, and then those who are the beneficiaries of the liberalization went off to college and came back as Islamist revolutionaries. Yeah, boy, there's a story that's repeated itself a few times, including in America, including at present. That's why it's interesting to offer this historical context and these comparisons. Nixon also spoke about his last meeting with the Shah. He was dying of cancer at the time. This was a meeting with the Shah who was living in abdication in Mexico, or he was living in abdication. They met in Mexico. That's how Nixon recounts the story.
He said that what concerned him about the way he was treated by the United States was not that the United States was for him or against him, but was the uncertainty of the policy. He says there's nothing worse when you are confronted with revolutionary and rebel forces and uncertainty insofar as support is concerned. One day, for example, he said statements would come in, public and private, from Washington indicating total support and urging him to stand firm. The next day, there would be some story leaked from a high-level aide, printed all over the world and given particular credence in Tehran, to the effect that lower-level or second-level people in the administration were meeting with Khomeini and others who were out to knock the Shah off, or out, as the case might be. And then the next day, there would be a story to the effect that in the event that the Shah left Iran or was overthrown, the United States would be prepared to accept any government that the people chose. Well, he said all of this had the effect of encouraging his enemies and, of course, discouraging his own supporters. He said that was a mistake. And I believe it was a mistake, too. As a matter of fact, what happened to the Shah, I think, could only be interpreted in that part of the world and other parts of the world as well, is that it is dangerous to be a friend of the United States, and it may pay to be an enemy. I think what we have to understand is that the Shah was the best friend of the United States in that area, in the whole Persian Gulf area, and it was Israel's only friend. The Shah, we must remember, in the 1973 war, furnished oil for our Mediterranean fleet when the other countries in the area cut it off. And the Shah tied down the Iraqi forces by supporting the Kurds against the Iraqis so that they never got involved in the 73 war. And I know that the Shah, when he spoke in Mexico about what had happened, he could not understand why it was that among his critics in the American media, there were some of Jewish background, not all, but some who were among his most violent critics because they were liberals and they thought he was too reactionary and the rest. And he just couldn't understand that because he was the only friend that Israel had in that whole area of the world.
Yeah, well, the things that the left doesn't understand then and now, you could write volumes. To this point, Holman Jenkins, in his piece, the Iranian regime is apparently choosing whether to bet big on its ability to hold the world's oil consumers hostage and dare Trump to do something about it. Inevitably, 73 comes to mind, just mentioned, when a president reached deep into his commander-in-chief bag, even as his political approval rating plummeted into the 20s. Yet Nixon also inspired broad respect as a geopolitician, even among his enemies. Nixon, with the dregs of his Watergate-damaged authority, put the U.S. military on global nuclear alert to stop the Soviets from involving themselves in that year's Mideast war and global energy panic. Those who think Trump didn't have anything larger in mind when he struck Iran are likely wrong. Usually, U.S. presidents usually have an eye on their superpower rival. Don't think that Trump is not thinking ahead here. But it's important, per Nixon's conversation with the Shah, that the messages being sent are being sent with moral clarity. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560.
Iran keeps fighting back on day 12 of the war. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
It was another sleepless night here in Tel Aviv as air raid sirens blared across the city 4 separate times, sending people into bomb shelters. Many missiles intercepted overhead.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Iran also, of course, targeted again.
As the Israelis and the Americans continue to degrade the Iranian regime and their ability to launch these types of attacks against Israel and regional Gulf countries. Some of the damage, not only around the capital of Tehran, but other areas. There is a concerted effort by the Americans and the Israelis to degrade Iran's ability to respond with attacks, including ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones.
Now, Iran has also been firing drones at neighboring countries that were shot down, and projectiles have hit a few cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz, a key oil shipping lane, setting them on fire. The U.S. has destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying boats. The price of oil is up this morning to about $85 a barrel. Now, an update on the Iran women's national soccer team and their dramatic trip to Australia.
6 players and 1 staff member had accepted offers of Australian visas after playing in a continental soccer tournament. There were fears for the team's safety after they refused to sing the Iranian anthem before one of their games. But one woman has decided to go home after all.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Tornadoes have twisted areas apart in Indiana and the Lake Village area, and in Illinois, south of Chicago.
We can see what looks like a piece of a house or a building, and then there's also some twisted metal debris all strewn about.
Fox Weather's Katie Burns surveying what she can in the dark and hard-hit Kankakee.
Officials say at least 7 people were hurt when this tornado moved through last night. They don't believe anyone is missing, which is fantastic news.
In Georgia, a special House election to replace Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, who resigned Congress, has set up a runoff between Democrat Sean Harris and Republican Clay Fuller April 7th. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 41 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Chicago City Council has a special meeting scheduled for this afternoon to consider a proposal Mayor Brandon Johnson says was provoked by President Donald Trump's administration. Jim Talamonte reports.
The mayor said the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. Fair Access to Democracy ordinance would protect poll workers, voters, and election-related activities.
The provocation really is just looking at what's coming from the federal government, where the president has made it very clear that he wants to suppress the vote of working people.
Chicago Flips Red founder Zoe Lee said she supports the Save America Act because federal law must take priority over symbolic ordinances.
A Chicago law firm is calling for a special prosecutor to investigate the actions of federal immigration enforcement agents during Operation Midway Blitz. Officials with Lovie & Lovie claim that ICE agents committed assault and battery against peaceful citizens, members of clergy, and media members last fall. Meanwhile, Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke opposes that petition, saying that the request for an independent investigation would make it difficult to prosecute and convict federal agents accused of breaking the law. And a former Chicago public school student is accusing CPS of not reporting to police when she was sexually abused by a female security guard. Attorneys for the alleged victim say their client met the security guard in 2012. The accused allegedly groomed, kissed, and repeatedly sexually abused the student up until 2015. Lawyers claim the security guard's mother was an administrator at the school during that time. The suit also claims the guards threatened to report the girl's family to ICE to prevent her from speaking. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sets the record straight.
Donald Trump has been 100% consistent on his views on the Iranian regime going back to 1980. And since he became a political figure in the United States, he has been crystal clear that he will never allow Iran to possess a nuclear weapon.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlow podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all of this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlow podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Aren't you curious how the Bible became translated into the English language? Calvary Baptist Church of Tinley Park invites you to a special public viewing of Biblical Antiquity, a remarkable collection presented by evangelist Monte Watts Jr. Explore over 400 rare Bibles and ancient texts and see firsthand how Scripture has been preserved and translated through the centuries. Join us March 15th through the 18th for our 2026 Revival and Bible Collection event. For details, visit CalvaryBaptistTinley.com. We look forward to welcoming you.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Starting off in pretty great shape on the Edens, 15 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. You've got 19 in, 22 out on the Kennedy, so looking good from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Also 15 minutes both ways on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. 22 minutes in, 25 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, and the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 16 minutes in, 11 out. We are stop and go on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, if there are any Trump derangement syndrome-addled automatons listening, would you like to call in and offer a note of thanks to the president and his administration? Particularly if you ride the L? Anybody? I mean, or take a CTA bus for that matter. Who wants to thank President Trump in Chicago? Since he's the bête noire of our existence. You heard in the news, Brandon Johnson prattling on again about he wants to disenfranchise people. Yeah. It's interesting coming from a guy who decries America and free enterprise. And you wonder why Chicago's not killing it economically. Interpersonally, yes. I mean, economically under Brandon Johnson. Maybe a letter writing campaign will start in CPS. Thank you, President Trump, for helping keep my mom and dad safe when they go to work on the L. When they, take the L to get to work. Because the new CTA security plan that was just rolled out doesn't happen without President Trump and Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, pulling the federal purse strings and saying, no more unless you protect your riders in Chicago. That's that racist, xenophobe, blah, 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 totalitarian who's destroying our democracy, blah, blah. That's that guy who did that for you in Chicago, even though you despise him. Even though you can't be reasoned with. Even though you can't even bring yourself, so many of you in Chicago, to act in furtherance of your own personal protection and that of your family. Even though you are all of those things, your president just interceded on your behalf. So how about a thanks? How about a we appreciate it? Thank you for not forgetting about us. Thank you for not taking our ignorance personally. 312-642-5600. 75% increase in monthly policing hours from the Chicago Police Department's public transit section, with a 34% increase in hours. Doubling the number of off-duty CPD officers who can sign up for extra hours patrolling the CTA. Deployment of sheriff's deputies on trains to provide additional security. Higher barrier entry gates at train stations to deter fare evasion. Transit rider interaction program missions to board and inspect trains at high incident stations. Expansion of social service support programs, including a pilot program for crisis intervention specialists and violence interrupters. $1.65 million in funding to provide 30 dedicated shelter beds for unhoused riders. A lot more to do than that, but it's a start. We're not going to make the CTA a homeless shelter. CTA trains homeless, mobile homeless shelters. There's an idea. We're going to have police and other adult presence there looking for people who would, light passengers on fire. This problem of habitual violent offenders in urban centers in particular, not limited, but in urban centers in states like Illinois, where you have no cash bail, it's a problem statewide. This is why we talked about this a bit yesterday. President Trump talked about it at the State of the Union address. He talked about it again at the Congressional Institute confab, calling on the House to pass a prohibition on no cash bail at the state level. Really something that shouldn't be coming from the federal government down. It should be coming from the local authorities up because the populace demands it. But in Chicago and Illinois, well, you just heard my description of so much of Chicago, which is completely accurate, by the way, but explains why you have no cash bail, explains why you have somebody arrested 72 times who's nonetheless riding the CTA and almost burning a girl to death, and myriad other examples. And that doesn't even include layering on the destruction wrought from being a sanctuary jurisdiction. And there are a lot of people that are getting frustrated with it. For example, Police Chief T.J. Morris, not here. No, I'm not in Chicago. I mean, Chicago police are, but they can't really say that much about it. But in other places, they can and do. After a particularly gruesome crime was committed against a 94-year-old woman in Baton Rouge, Police Chief T.J. Morris had something to say about it. 22-year-old arrested for raping a 94-year-old woman.
The suspect is Jeremiah Taylor. Date of birth is 1/14/2004. He's 22 years of age. He's going to be charged with first-degree rape, second-degree battery, cruelty to the affirmed, and obscenity. I would like to note that he does have a previous criminal history that includes 2 burglaries from May of 2024, and also being arrested for first-degree rape, as well as other related charges from an incident that occurred in August of 2024. He was arrested and had been held in jail for that charge until mid-January of this year. Questions?
Chief, can you talk about, obviously you guys did your jobs in the first cases. He was arrested in the court system, but he was obviously released. Can you talk about how frustrating it is when your officers are out doing their jobs and then these individuals get back out on the streets and then another similar thing happens?
Yeah, so if you don't notice, if you haven't picked up, anytime we are putting people arrested on Facebook, we're also including their criminal history because it is a source of contention, it is a source of frustration on our department and with our officers. Why this is happening is some questions that I would love y'all to ask the rest of the judicial system.
Yeah. And the same goes in Chicago, of course. Stephanie Minter was randomly slashed at a bus stop and killed by a guy in Fairfax, Virginia, who had 30-plus prior arrests for violent crimes. Random attack, like Bethany McGee. Cassie Daniel, cancer patient at MD Anderson in Houston. Her friend Marietta Allison, pick her up and take her to her chemo treatments. Help her in her, while she's fighting cancer. Be there for her. And then this happened. Cassie Daniel, the cancer patient, provides the details. What is this?
I've got to stay here. We're going to listen to probable cause.
Okay. Do we have that?
Mr. Hall, I've got Mr. Bella to you as you're returning. I've got to stay here. We're going to listen to probable cause.
I'm coming with some sad news today. Friday, I went to MD Anderson for my second chemo treatment, and I shared about that on Friday. And in that, I got to show you my dad and my friend Marietta, who I consider to be like a sister. And I did have some complications from the chemo, had a reaction, and so it took longer. So we left MD Anderson at 10:50 on Friday night, and we drove to my friend's house who we were staying with. And my friend Marietta was driving my car, and she dropped my dad and I and the luggage off at my friend's elevator. And then she went to park the car. And when she parked the car, on her walk back, she was shot and killed. This was when we were in Houston. And they have caught the guy. He stole my car, and I had asked him, because I saw her purse down the way from her body, and I asked if they had taken the key and he had stolen the car, because I thought that's a way that we could track this person. And they did, and he stole the car. He totaled the car. There were 2 guns in the car that he put there. They were not my firearms. He then escaped on foot and entered an apartment complex and barricaded himself into a vacant apartment. He broke in, and the SWAT team was able to get him out after a couple of hours and arrested him. And it turns out he had some similar evading arrest and things like that on our juvenile record, and he was out on probation. And that's when all this happened on Friday night. So a friend of mine told me that there was a rumor in some circles that I was the one that was killed, and I was not. I think there was a press release that the Houston police put out. This was in a good neighborhood. It was in the Heights. You might have seen some news coverage about a woman being killed on 20th Street in Houston, and that was my sister Marietta. And she's the person, she and her husband are the people that I'm living with right now. And she came back to take care of me while I was going through cancer. So please be praying for her husband for us.
312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. This matter of habitual violent offenders, both foreign and domestic. It's not going away. And this is not intended to be fear porn. It's intended to generate some sort of reaction from people who are otherwise non-functioning from the neck up in urban centers and blue states around this country. Foreign and domestic. Foreign.
Police say that they have arrested the suspect who shoved an 83-year-old man onto subway tracks, leaving him on life support. We have been covering this story since Sunday. The 34-year-old man now faces charges, including attempted murder. Bayron Hernandez accused of pushing actually 2 men onto the tracks at the Lexington Avenue and 63rd Street station Sunday. Victim John Rodriguez managed to take video of the man who he said was the culprit. Rodriguez ended up with his arm in a sling. The other victim, 83-year-old Richard Williams, his granddaughter tells us he has multiple fractures and also bleeding on the brain.
Of course, the local network affiliate buried part of the lead, which is that he is an illegal immigrant from Honduras. The 83-year-old is not expected to survive. You heard he's in a coma. Combat veteran for this country. How about the Pennsylvania State Trooper, Tim O'Connor, who was killed in the line of duty earlier this week? Traffic stop. Apparently about 500 feet from the assailant's home. After he killed the police officer, he apparently walked a few yards and then turned the gun on himself. From social media posts, you see he's got his pronouns listed and Free Palestine and all sorts of other leftist tropes. Story out of California. Just, throw a dart at a map of America, and I got a story. The family of a man who was stabbed to death by a homeless man while he was charging his electric car outside a library is filing a claim against the city for $40 million in damages for failing to provide for his safety. The victim, 68-year-old Reinaldo Jesus Lafons, charging his car at an EV station. Homeless man approached him, stabbed him, no reason. It gets better. Positively Californian or Illinoisan. Authorities called to the scene, and as paramedics tended to the 68-year-old who was stabbed, another homeless man stepped into the unattended ambulance and drove away in it. I wish I was describing a funny scene from a Naked Gun movie, but it's the very unhumorous reality of jurisdictions controlled by the left. I got a million of them. Nick, Northwest Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, good morning, Dan. I was mentioning to the screener that this is something we've known for a long time. Western societies are falling apart for one reason, repeat offenders, and not like one or two or three times, but like 20, 30, 40, and on times. They keep getting released, and nobody tries to deal with them seriously. And unfortunately, I don't like to bring up the race factor, but a lot of them, if they're black, especially brown, but and lately it's Arab Islamic, but they're trying. The people in charge are trying to prevent it from becoming a worse incident against the offender, and the victim is just considered to be collateral damage. That's the way I see it, and it's not going to go away unless we take them out of circulation, put them somewhere where they're locked up. They don't have to be, in bad conditions and tortured or anything, where just to get them out of circulation, get them off the streets. And
Thanks for the call, Nick. Yeah, I mean, every one of these cases that I mentioned is an instance of a preventable crime, meaning the justice system was positioned to prevent it. For example, Cassie Daniels' friend, Marietta Ellison, who was shot in the neck, killed. The man in custody was under juvenile suspension for multiple previous charges, including aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Yeah, he's on his way. I'm sure over the course of his lifetime, depending on how Houston chooses to handle that prosecution. I mean, he can be another one of these individuals who deserves a 33rd, a 52nd, a 71st chance. Parolee with 131 prior busts arrested for setting homeless man on fire at Penn Station. 131. That may be the leader in the clubhouse. That's as high as I've seen. 47 years old. He's got 131 busts. Still trying to reform him? As you just one drug treatment program away from being a model citizen? Job training in the joint? Is that what's going to do it? Thankfully, the 37-year-old he lit on fire, homeless man, goes in every direction because, well, that's the nature of barbaric chaos, which is the feature of big cities. Fortunately, the 37-year-old homeless man just had second-degree burns on his arm and back. So, the guy with 131 arrests, what are we going to do for him? Alternative dispute resolution? Send him to some art house to finger paint for 6 months and then put him back on the streets, roaming the New York City subways? It's remarkable what people indulge, isn't it? I know. It's just big city living. That's just the price you pay to live in a city with a couple of Michelin star rated restaurants. Yeah, that's a good trade-off. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Casey Klebeck, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Our country faces serious challenges: rising taxes, rising costs of food, housing, and health care. I'm running to change that with a bold agenda that puts working American first. My plan eliminates taxes on real estate, Social Security income, and retirement income. It removes taxes for students and young married couples, creates 5-year tax holiday for new small businesses, and delivers free prescription drugs for seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. I'll take no salary. My seat will not be bought by lobbyists. My only client is you. I want to be your voice in Washington, fighting every day for lower taxes, secure borders, safe communities, a retirement you can count on, and keeping the promise of the American dream alive for the generations to come. Please vote for me on March 17. I'm Casey Klebeck, and I approve this message.
The vaccines have failed. While the virus continues to mutate and bypass every shot they give you, the establishment is left with no answers. You're being left defenseless against a changing enemy. But the cavalry has arrived. When the system fails, nature and science unite to rescue your immune system. It's time to stop chasing mutations and start blocking them. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. We've combined 23 high-potency natural ingredients into one synergistic strike. We are hitting the virus from every angle. Don't be a victim of ineffective science. Get the 23-ingredient shield that actually works. Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30% at checkout. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Rick Borick talks about the emotions of stock market investing.
At what point would you rethink your decision that you're invested in the stock market? And you'll notice that someone who answered that question 6 months ago saying, I'm not going to panic until it's down 30%, calls you up on the phone and says, it's down 8%, what's going on? And I says, what happened to the 30% guy, right?
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, the State of Play on the SAVE Act will pour over recent comments from Senate Majority Leader Thune as well as Caroline Leavitt in her press briefing yesterday. That's 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Yesterday's severe weather outbreak hit the Kankakee area hard. Fox Weather's Katie Byrne has the latest info.
City officials here in Kankakee say at least 7 people were hurt in this. They don't believe anyone was missing, which is definitely good news. We also have been seeing down power lines around here as well, so things are not really functioning as they normally would.
Other parts of the state were hit with severe weather as well, with reports of baseball-sized hail and strong winds tearing through neighborhoods. Authorities are confirming the body of a man who went missing last fall in Blue Island has been located. Dan Davis was last seen on Bourbon Street in Blue Island last November. Family members say a Cook County Sheriff's deputy gave Davis a ride after he was involved in a car accident that night. Body camera footage showed Davis appearing disoriented. His body was located on Monday near the 3300 block of Wyerton Road in Blue Island. News is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. Marvin Replacement Windows and Doors can bring your backyard right into your living space, making it seem brighter and more spacious. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees retribution.
When people who have held immense power in this country start talking like this, when they sound desperate, when they sound unhinged, when they sound like They want to punish their fellow Americans. It tells you something deeper is going on out there. It's retribution for their enemies. This has become the norm for the Democratic Party.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oakbrook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackbrook Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still in great shape on the Eden, 16 in, 15 out from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 24 minutes. Outbound is 24. You've got 17 in, 14 out on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office. The Stevenson inbound is 21 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. The reverse side, that's going to cost you 23 minutes. 19 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. We are shut down on Archer Avenue between California Avenue and Pershing Road, all because of police activity on the southwest side. This report is a service of Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted in 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, the State of Play with the SAVE Act. President Trump raising the profile on it. Senate Majority Leader Thune, not seeming too confident about its prospects in these public comments.
And so that debate will happen. But like I said, I can guarantee the debate. I can guarantee a vote. I just can't guarantee an outcome. I think there are a lot of optimistic views about what Democrats may or may not do. We all know, because we deal with them every day, that the Democrats are not all of a sudden going to decide that this is something they want to be for. So, yeah, again, I mean, I think you have a lot of optimists out there, and I appreciate that, and a lot of passion and energy behind getting an outcome here. But getting an outcome would require Democrat votes. And you know, we'll give them a chance. Like I said, they'll have that opportunity to vote one way or the other on this. But I would be very, very surprised.
312-642-5600, turnkey. That is Chicago Morning Answers call-in and text line. John Thune requires Democrat votes. We got to get to 60. I can promise a debate, but I can't promise an outcome. Seems like if there is going to be this push made, it's going to have to get a lot more direct than its attitude at present. The talking filibuster may or may not get it done, but one of the things that it does do is it compels Democrats to talk about this nonstop for a month. Could they do it? Sure. Cory Booker could probably do it himself. But that's okay, because it keeps this issue front and center. That was the point that Laura Ingraham made to Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno.
Well, Senator Moreno, we know all this, and I know you're aggressively for this, but I'm going to ask the question again. John Thune, and it's nothing personal, I like John Thune, but he could aggressively push this. The president won 2 elections, and he had a mandate with the American people to get an agenda through. As far as I can tell, the Senate wants to treat, Senate duty as like a board position. We'd roll in on Tuesdays and leave on Thursdays. But we got to get this thing passed, and you got to force the Democrats' hand. The only way to do that is with this talking filibuster. At least then you have them on video trying to stop voter ID and all these sensible rules.
Yeah, I mean, the mandate, Trump's electoral mandate, doesn't mean much, clearly, to some Republican senators. And I think their names are McConnell and Murkowski and Curtis and perhaps Tillis. Whoever they are, they need to be fleshed out and focused upon. And of course, Curtis, Mitt Romney's replacement. A deep red state like Utah, and only the Republican Party could have someone's a succession of people who are obstructionist on commonsensical things. It's rather remarkable, but that's what it is. Chuck Schumer is continuing to demagogue the issue, as is his wont.
It's about voter registration. It allows ICE to kick tens of millions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore, you're not registered here, you're not on the rolls. And they say, I didn't know that. This is a bill that destroys the country, and it is not about showing ID when you show up to vote. It's about the voter registration rolls, destroying them, purging them, not letting people know, and taking the rights in a algorithm put together by ICE, put together by Doge and Musk. It's an outrage, and that's why so many people don't want to pass it.
There may be more information coming out, too, that would aid and abet the effort here, and would also bring the kind of pressure on some of these obstinate Republican senators that would move them. And again, we had Ron Johnson on yesterday. He wants to see an up or down vote on the filibuster, on blowing up the filibuster. But remember, that presents other complications. You may have people that are proponents of the SAVE Act, but also opponents of blowing up the filibuster because where the Democrats take control of all three branches, well, of the two chambers and the executive, then you are looking at the prospect of an expanded Supreme Court. You're looking at the prospect of D.C. and Puerto Rican statehood. There are all sorts of horrors they can respond in kind with on a straight majority vote. So that has to be considered as well. But this other information, John Solomon over at Just the News is talking about this, that there are a body of documents that has been found exposing vulnerabilities in our election system to potential foreign actors. He reports there will be some search warrants executed in the coming days based on what he knows. There's an extraordinary review going on by the CIA director, the FBI director, and DNI. They have found a body of documents that I think will trouble all of us and probably will have profound effect on the Senate debate over the Save America Act. A lot of senators are sitting up there saying, I don't know if I need to vote for this. I don't know what the politics are. When they find out that maybe voter identities in their state databases were penetrated by China and used in influence operations, that may change their mind, for example. Well, that's a pretty good example, if that's indeed the case. And Solomon, suggesting that the debate could be informed by such a revelation. In addition to that, of course, this is all against the backdrop of this DHS shutdown that is being perpetuated. Well, that was instigated and is being perpetuated by Pagliacci, Schumer and company. Thune had this to say about that.
Shamefully, the Democrats have put us into another government shutdown. This is day 25 of the shutdown for the Department of Homeland Security. We have tried repeatedly to engage them on a path forward. The White House has attempted to do that. By the way, the White House submitted their last offer to the Democrats 12 days ago. 12 days ago, no response. And so, here we are with important agencies of government that have vital national security and homeland security roles, people not getting paid. You're starting to see the lines at the airports because TSA employees aren't getting paid. Obviously, cybersecurity falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security, border security. You can go right down the list. FEMA, these are agencies that have a profound impact on the safety and security of the American people. And the Democrats have opted to, in the most cynical way, play politics. I mean, how much more cynical can you get than to play politics with issues that affect Homeland Security?
And it seems to me that you can wrap this all up into America's national security. Our airports are compromised, or potentially. I mean, if TSA doesn't provide for airport security, then why do we have them? I mean, that's a whole other debate, I suppose. Why do we have them federalized? But the bottom line is, if you agree they provide a service, then you should fund that service. If you're making a representation to the American people, this ensures you can have confidence when you travel by plane. Then you should ensure that what you say is needed is funded. Pretty straightforward. All of this wrapped up into America's security, the security of our institutions, of our systems, and that necessarily includes, of course, our election systems. That's why the potential vulnerabilities to foreign actors and maybe evidence of said incursions, and I'm not talking about little Russian Facebook campaigns. We're talking about something where the roles themselves are compromised, and we know, per the Trump administration's lawsuits against a couple dozen states, that you don't have secretaries of states like our very own Ali G doing yeoman's work in maintaining the accuracy and security of voter rolls. This has been a problem for many moons in states like Illinois. But there's another angle in, particularly as long as the shutdown is perpetuated by the left, that you've got Democrats. I mean, just when it comes to security of any sort, our national security, the security of our elections, the security of our domestic institutions, your personal security, safety, when you even commute to work. And you have one party that is just decidedly uninterested, if not openly hostile to it at every turn. You really want to be on that side? Mitch? Lisa? John? Diane and Joliet, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Good morning, Dan.
Morning.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you for having me. I was listening in earlier, and I just want to remind your listeners that the only way to get things done is to vote. March 17th is Election Day. We have a lot of candidates that are up that have control over what goes on, such as the Secretary of State's office. We will monitor the voting registration. It's very important that we make sure that our roads are clean and also that our drivers are safe, for our American people and keeping the roads safe.
No, CDL licenses. Yeah, there's another issue with respect to the Secretary of State's office, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that definitely has to be looked at, cleaned up, and we're going to find a lot of individuals not driving that's not supposed to be. I mean, I always say it doesn't matter what party you stand for. Safety is a priority, and it stands for the American people. And if you have candidates that are not focused on that and focused on something and not the American agenda, we have a problem, and our voters need to take note of that.
Thanks for the call, Diane. One other suggestion just on passing the SAVE Act that was offered up by Florida Rep. Anna Paulina Luna is that there's a coalition of House Republicans that are committed to blocking the FISA bill unless the Save America Act is attached. And this may be a way to navigate the issue in the Senate by attaching it to FISA and making it a little bit more difficult for obstreperous Republicans and even maybe some Democrats that are not quite as bold as Fetterman, but not completely comfortable with Pagliacci. All hands on deck. All avenues must be tried. And I think you start to get about this business of compelling discussion as soon as possible to start turning up the heat. There's been too much sort of back and forth, and it gets a little stale hearing more or less the same things from more or less the same people. This needs to be ratcheted up at least one level at this juncture, it seems to me, and that's on Thune. Glenn in Orlando, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. I'm just reading just the news that 29 states have refused to turn over their voter rolls.
Right.
The U.S. Assistant Attorney, Harmony Dillon, 16 states have turned over their voter rolls, and they're being fought by local district attorneys and judges trying to prevent the release of the information. So there's a lot of things that should be cleaned up that are being resisted, which is really a bad thing, because that means if I'm a voter and my vote is legitimate, that means it can be nullified by somebody who's illegitimate.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
LabCorp has an opening for a 100% remote application support engineer and application developer. This position is 100% remote, can work anywhere in the U.S. Job duties include developing, maintaining, and supporting custom business applications that enable efficient laboratory and operational workflows. This position requires at least a bachelor's degree or its equivalent in computer science, information technology, computer programming, or a related field, and at least 4 years of experience as an application support engineer, application developer, or related role. Salary range is $112,507 to $131,584.38. Send resume to resumes@labcorp.com and reference job code TZ022026. LabCorp has an opening for a 100% remote application support engineer and application developer. Send resume to resumes@labcorp.com and reference job code TZ022026.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I haven't had a chance. I was off, so I didn't have a chance to remark on the passing of football great Lou Holtz. But I'm on his passing. One of the commencement addresses he gave, I think I've played on the show before, though. Lou Holtz, who was a great speaker, great motivational speaker, on the 4 things in life that everyone needs.
If you don't have any of these 4 things in your life, you're going to have a tremendous void. See, everybody needs something to do. Number 2, everybody needs someone to love. Number 3, everybody needs someone to believe in. In my case, is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But the 4th thing you need in your life is you need something to hope for. There's never a right time to do the wrong thing. And there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Just do what's right. I think it's right to be honest, right to be on time. See, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy life. Have fun. You're going to have problems. You're going to have difficulties. That's part of life. And don't tell people about your problems. Do you know that 90% of the people don't care? And the other 10% are glad you got them. So you're better off to keep it yourself. You're going to have problems. But have fun with what you're doing.
That's my favorite. I mean, all the positive stuff, of course, but that's a great aphorism. Don't tell people about your problems. 90% people don't care, and the other 10% are glad you have them. It's brilliant. Something else that Holtz is said to have said prior to his passing that speaks to someone to believe in, something to believe in, and for him it's Jesus Christ. This is really good. I hope it's true. It sounds like something Holtz would have said. He allegedly said, "When I die and people realize that I will not be resurrected in 3 days, they will forget about me. That is the way it should be." Wisdom on his way to his eternal reward from Coach Holtz. We will miss him. Rest in peace, Lou Holtz. All right, coming up at 7:07, we'll return to Iran in the Middle East with Peter Berkowitz. That's 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Another warning to Iran. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. From President Trump as the U.S. keeps targeting Iranian boats laying mines in a key shipping lane, destroying 16 so far.
This comes as the Wall Street Journal reports less than 10 mines have been laid in the Strait of Hormuz, this critical oil passage where 20% of the world's oil passes through. President Trump overnight in a post on Truth Social threatened the regime if they do lay these mines in this critical thoroughfare.
Iran's also targeted cargo ships in that strait, hitting at least 3, setting them on fire. Also sending drones into Gulf countries shot down by Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. And Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv also reports Iran's targeted Israel again, too.
New interceptions took place overnight over the heart of Tel Aviv, sending hundreds of thousands into bomb shelters 4 separate times. There is a significant amount of damage in Iran, though, as these U.S. and Israeli strikes continue, going after not only these launching positions, but also IRGC positions and other leadership just outside the capital of Tehran.
And there are several reports that Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, was wounded in his legs, the New York Times says, at the start of the war. Around the same time his father, the ex-supreme leader, was killed. Iran's national women's soccer team is making its way home with 6 fewer members after a controversial trip to a tournament in Australia where the women refused to sing their national anthem before a game, angering Iran.
Australian federal police removed the 5 players to a safe location where they were granted humanitarian visas. A 6th player and a team staffer also decided to stay in Australia, but one of those women spoke to her teammates and decided to return home instead.
Fox's Brian Yennis. There's tornado damage in 2 states and casualties.
We know 2 people now confirmed dead in Indiana from the severe storms. The tornado that hit there, likely the same tornado that hit this town in Illinois. It's about 22 miles away from us.
Fox Weather's Katie Byrne in Kankakee. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Schools in Kankakee School District 111 are closed today following yesterday's severe weather outbreak. Fox Weather's Katie Byrne has the latest info on the storm.
City officials here in Kankakee say at least 7 people were hurt in this. They don't believe anyone was missing, which is definitely good news. We know that crews were out through the night looking through debris to make sure of that and checking into a lot of 911 calls, of course, from people who live in the area, but also family members maybe looking out for people who are in town as well. Now, we also have been seeing down power lines around here as well, so things are not really functioning as they normally would because of these outages. They don't appear to be widespread, but we do have a number of outages, at least 150 without power.
The American Red Cross has set up a shelter at the Kankakee Community College for those needing assistance. Despite the extensive damage, no major injuries have been reported. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing to create democracy zones near Chicago polling places to protect local voters from ICE. Johnson said he's proposing the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. Fair Access to Democracy Ordinance in honor of the late civil rights leader. That ordinance would ban federal immigration agents from entering so-called democracy zones outside polling places. A special city council meeting is scheduled for today for a possible vote on the measure. And several residents are concerned after a doll wrapped in black was found hanging by a noose near a Little Free Library book box on Chicago's north side. The figure was spotted near Morse and Walcott. 49th Ward Alderperson Maria Haddon reported the incident to police and released a statement condemning the display. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher explains his thoughts on the Iran bombings.
Look, overwhelming support of this administration's decision to join Israel in wiping out the Ayatollah and over 40 members of the Iranian leadership. We're in a spiritual war. This is about good versus evil.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 18 in, 13 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. Stop and go on the Kennedy outbound between the Byrne Interchange and Ontario Street. So we're looking at 33 minutes out, 32 in on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. The Eisenhower is 32 in, 19 out from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Inbound Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore is 29 minutes, outbound is 26. 26 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 12. Stop and go on the Bishop Ford between 111th Street and the Dan Ryan. And you're also real slow on Lakeshore Drive northbound between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. News and Traffic is a service of American Beam and Steel Structural Repair Licensed Contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Pollster Mark Penn had a good post on X. Just recounting, a couple days worth of headlines about the military operation in Iran. These are headlines, actual headlines, DC Press Corps. Iran regime doing well, in control. Doing well, really. I wonder what would constitute doing poorly. Lost half our Navy, and we've been reduced to about 15 to 20% capacity to retaliate. Things are going great. We lost our supreme leader and most of our senior leadership in the first hours of the military operation. Couldn't be better. In total control. We got a new supreme leader whose body double is a cardboard cutout. Iran regime doing well, in control. Another, Trump under pressure to end war. From who? Dick Blumenthal? Another, Khamenei's son just as tough as father. Mark Penn opines, one headline after another essentially featuring Iranian propaganda as the news. Well, when the DC Press Corps is rooting for the Iranians, you would expect them to act just as they do when they're rooting for the neo-Marxist party, which is every single day. The reality is slightly different. Oh, but I mean, this is in keeping, by the way, before I get to General Kane's update yesterday. CNN had to apologize for the headline. I mean, this is not Iran, but it's the same sort of thing. Their headline regarding the attempted Islamist terrorist attack outside Gracie Mansion this past Saturday. You still want to defund police? Now the two officers who intervened are rightly being hailed as heroes. I thought they're just members of a systemically racist organization. Yeah. A post, CNN's apology, a post regarding the two individuals arrested for throwing homemade bombs outside the New York City mayor Zohran Mamdani's home failed to reflect the gravity of the incident, thereby breaching the editorial standards we require for all of our reporting. Now you have to apologize for saying you have editorial standards. The post in question that was deleted because it didn't meet these fictional editorial standards that CNN alleges. Two Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would be drastically changed as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zohran Mamdani's home. The attack, it makes it sound like the attack happened to them. And they were just interested in, taking advantage of the weather. And then all of a sudden they get arrested for throwing bombs. I love the passive voice to minimize. They went to New York City for the purpose of trying to kill dozens of people protesting outside Gracie Mansion. That's what actually happened. Oh, and then, by the way, we find that there were more bombs that they had made back at a staging area in Pennsylvania, authorities found. But this is consistent with Western press. The Economist. Khamenei knew he was personally in the great Satan's sights. This did not daunt him. That's The Economist. This did not daunt him. He felt always that he had divine right on his side. I love when The Economist uses the Iranian Islamist characterization of America in reference to America. That's not a tell. And of course, we talked about this with Leo Leibowitz too the other week. The sanitizing of the Ayatollah by the Washington Post and the New York Times, much like they sanitized, well, New York Times in particular, Hitler as a Bavarian gentleman who enjoyed long walks in the mountains with his dogs in the 30s, which is 100% true. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, hardline cleric who made Iran a regional power, dies at 86. That was that line. The New York Times obit. Oh, God. Oh, it's good stuff. Iranian regime doing well, in control. That's not what Dan Kane, General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has to say.
Our strikes mean we've made significant progress in reducing the number of missile and drone attacks out of Iran. Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward, 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 83% since the beginning of the operation. A testament to our air defenders and our air defense systems, and as I said, our partners in the region continue to do great work as well.
He also said there is work to do, and this is where they're going to be doing it.
We're making substantial progress towards destroying the Navy. In the first 10 days of the conflict, we're more than 50 Iranian naval ships into the campaign using a combination of artillery, fighters, bombers, and sea-launched missiles. As Admiral Cooper noted last Thursday, we struck and sank an Iranian drone carrier ship, and U.S. CENTCOM continues today to hunt and strike mine-laying vessels and mine storage facilities. This work will continue. Third, against our objectives, we've begun to target Iran's military and industrial complex, again, focusing on centers of gravity to get upstream of the shooters out in the field in order to deny them the ability to continue to generate those one-way attack drones.
And because this is where things are at, if you take General Kane at his word, which I'm inclined to do, it means that calls to declare victory and call it a day from senators like Josh Hawley are a bit premature, in my view. Hawley on Waters last night.
Well, I think that he's achieved his objectives the way that he's laid them out. And you just put it beautifully, Jesse. I mean, what is there really that's left to do that we haven't already done? I mean, we have demonstrated to the world and anybody who's watching, by the way, that we have overwhelming military superiority and we know how to use it. We have totally destroyed forever their nuclear program. We have destroyed their ballistic missiles. We have destroyed their Navy. I mean, this has been a total success in whatever it's been, 11 days. And I thought the president's remarks last night that he could declare victory today and it would be a 100% victory. I think it's true. I think we ought to say to our heroes, thank you for a job well done. This has been absolutely amazing. It's been astounding. It's been historic. And now it's time to declare victory.
Yeah, it could be all those adjectives, but it long-lasting. I know he said the nuclear program has been destroyed forever and ever, amen, but that's not true. That's not true. And the fact that's not true is a problem because that's fundamental to the mission. Not forever and ever, but at minimum such that you impede their ability to have a significant ballistic missiles program, drone production capability, and a quick restart to their nuclearization, their nuclearization program for the purposes of nuclear weapons. Okay. For more on all this, pleased to be joined by Peter Berkowitz, Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution, former Director of Policy Planning at the U.S. State Department, and author of Explaining Israel, the Jewish State, the Middle East, and America. Peter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
A bit premature on Josh Hawley's part, and the other part, people who are a little. Let's go out on top, boys. We showed them who we are. Let's make sure that no mistakes are made, and let's call it victory and call it a day.
You're right, of course, that Hawley's adjectives are correct. Amazing accomplishments in the first week and a half of this operation, but many accomplishments left to be achieved. Remember, Israel today, several times a day, Israelis are forced to enter shelters because of launches of ballistic missiles from Iran. All the ballistic missiles, all the launchers, all the missile production sites haven't yet been destroyed. President Trump was very clear. Sink their Navy and their nuclear program, destroy their missiles, missile launchers, missile factories, destroy IRGC bases, Basij bases. There's still physical infrastructure left to destroy. So the war is not yet over.
And the alignment and non-alignment, the United States and Israel. This was an issue yesterday at the briefing that Hegseth and General Kane offered when the topic of regime change came up, and the idea that if we don't want the Ayatollah's kid to be the supreme leader there, we'd like somebody else. And Hegseth was quick to basically say, look, essentially that may be more Israel's stated objective than our stated objective. And I wanted to get your comment on that.
There have been some divergencies in remarks over the last 10 or 11 days, which one would expect. But in their initial statements on February 28th, Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump were at one. Both indicated that we hope, as a result of our destruction of their military capabilities, to create conditions for regime change. But it is not our military objective. The Israeli hope, as I understand it, is through the pounding of the infrastructure to give the Iranian people the opportunity to change the regime. But I think the United States has remained consistent. Beyond destroying military capabilities, we are not introducing soldiers, which is what would be necessary, not only to cause the regime to collapse, but to install people we prefer.
What about the prospect that if you can't get to what is believed to be a uranium enrichment site within Pickaxe Mountain, because it's protected by granite, as Trump observed the other day, that may require some sort of special forces operation, maybe U.S., maybe Israeli, maybe a combined operation, that you would have to put limited boots on the ground to try to get to that site in particular, and whether or not that would be worth it?
So I regard special operations forces as sort of in between. It's not an invasion. It's not an invasion. It's not an effort to occupy territory. You put extremely well-trained troops in. They perform a specific mission, and they leave. Technically, it's boots on the ground, but it's not what most people mean when they hear boots on the ground. They imagine tens of thousands of soldiers putting up tents, creating bases, and staying there.
The nuclearization program more generally, what is your sense of what we, meaning the civilian public, know about this versus what the U.S. and Israel know in terms of what's required to confidently say there will not be an ability to restart in the near term after this campaign is over?
Well, some of the language is exaggerated. For example, Senator Hawley's statement that the program is destroyed forever. We've known for a long time that the most we could really hope was to set the program back a few years. Why? You could destroy the entire infrastructure, but you would still have dispersed throughout Iranian society a know-how of how to reconstitute a program. Now, that requires a lot of concrete, a lot of building, a lot of energy. It would be highly visible. You could keep destroying it, but without destroying the entire intellectual class, you can't guarantee that a nuclear program will not arise. That said, my impression is, from what's been made publicly available, that the United States and Israel continue to pound away at the infrastructure they have, and are doing as much as an Air Force can do to end this nuclear program.
And, the other matter of concern, of course, is ensuring the integrity of shipping lanes. You had some of those mine placement ships destroyed yesterday. Yes. Although at the same time, you had the Energy Secretary have to walk back in something he said on the Sunday talk shows with respect to tankers getting through, being escorted by American ships, which is not happening, at least not yet. And so that other issue, which was sort of addressed by General Kane, not directly though, that what will be required to clear those shipping lanes and then also to ensure that commerce can travel through those areas without incident on a go-forward basis?
Yes, this was always a risk. Mines, a variety of mines that Iran has, at the end of the day, are low-tech and cheap, and also always represented a threat. That said, the United States is in a very different place than it was decades ago in the 1970s during the oil spike following the Yom Kippur War. Why? We have two important pipelines, one from the Emirates and one from Saudi Arabia, which send oil to the world. And second, we have the United States, which has emerged as a top producer of oil and natural gas. So I strongly suspect that the Trump administration took these matters into account. So far, the United States and the world has avoided an oil crisis. And really, I think what we ought to say is it's astonishing, if Mark Penn were right, that Iran hasn't done more to block the shipments of oil.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, the way that it's being reported about how robust Iran remains. But that said, this larger issue, it may not be a stated military objective, but it sure would be nice if there was regime change in a way that was more friendly to both neighbors in the region and the Western world more generally. And I wonder, where you think the prospects of that are. I mean, Walter Russell Mead wrote earlier this week that the most likely scenario is that the U.S. Accomplishes basically what it stated it would do, but the regime remains in place.
I agree. There's a decent prospect for that, but we must emphasize the crucial point. A regime in place without its nuclear program, without its ballistic missiles, without its launches, without its capacity to produce missiles, without its IRGC bases, without its secret police offices, without its Navy, we left out, without its Air Force, is a regime that is much weaker. It would represent the achievement of the goals that President Trump laid out on February 29th and Prime Minister Netanyahu laid out, the primary goal being to greatly reduce the military threat that Iran presents to American bases, to American friends and partners. So I think it's very important to see, even if a frail, greatly weakened regime remains in place, the United States can achieve its stated military objectives and will.
Do you think two things I wonder if you think are overstated, in terms of downsides, and one in terms of upside, one in terms of downside? The upside being overstated, I'm asking. The relationship between the United States and the Abraham Accord countries, as well as those countries' relationship with Israel, that this military operation has brought those parties even closer together and isolated Iran even more so. Is that something, that's something that's been stated. It seems logical. It seems like people, other Arab states that were attacked by Iran didn't appreciate that, and Iran apologized and said, I'm not going to attack you anymore. I don't know how far that apology goes. So it seems like logical that that's the case, but maybe that is overly simplified.
I don't think it's overly simplified, although I would add a factor. No doubt that our moderate Gulf Arab Sunni partners were worried about this war, but there's no doubt that they regard Iran as an adversary, as a threat. They regard themselves in Iran's crosshairs, and I think Iran made a big blunder in attacking Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, because if those countries had any doubt which side they were on, the Iranians, who had lost 40 of their senior security people, removed that doubt by striking them. So if anything, I think the war has so far consolidated America's partnership with the moderate Gulf Arab monarchs.
Now, something I'm asking again, overstated as a threat. The argument goes, as it did during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, we attack, we just create another generation of Islamist terrorists, and you can't kill your way out of the problem. And so this attack has spawned an attack on the U.S. Embassy in Norway, an attack on the U.S. consulate in Toronto, a Senegalese terrorist attack in Austin, Texas, mass shooter. And we're going to see more of that as a result of this, perceived attack on the Arab world.
I don't think that's right. I don't think there's great empirical evidence for it. We were told that there would be rising up in the streets in 1991 and 2003. There were not. Moreover, you cannot allow your vindication of your national security interests to be hostage to terrorists around the world. And while you may not be able to change regimes by killing people, the critics' offering is not an accurate characterization of our military efforts. Our military efforts are aimed at physical infrastructure, boats, missiles, bases, nuclear development installations. Those you can destroy from the air. There you can succeed. And all responsible accounts, beginning with Kane, suggest that we're making great progress in achieving those important goals.
Peter Berkowitz, Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution, former Director of Policy Planning at the State Department, and author of Explaining Israel, the Jewish State, the Middle East, and America. Peter Berkowitz, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Casey Klebeck, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Our country faces serious challenges: rising taxes, rising costs of food, housing, and health care. I'm running to change that with a bold agenda that puts working American first. My plan eliminates taxes on real estate, Social Security income, and retirement income. It removes taxes for students and young married couples, creates 5-year tax holiday for new small businesses, and delivers free prescription drugs for seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. I'll take no salary. My seat will not be bought by lobbyists. My only client is you. I want to be your voice in Washington, fighting every day for lower taxes, secure borders, safe communities, a retirement you can count on, and keeping the promise of the American dream alive for the generations to come. Please vote for me on March 17. I'm Casey Klebeck, and I approve this message.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill. From pivotal elections to your everyday lives, join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, our weekly review of all things dollars and cents with Stephen Moore. 7:37, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 37 degrees here in Chicago at AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A new lawsuit is accusing Chicago Public Schools of ignoring allegations of sexual abuse by a female security guard at a high school. Attorneys for the woman who claims she was groomed and repeatedly sexually assaulted by a security guard at Farragut Career Academy between 2012 and 2015 says CPS knew and didn't report it.
The Chicago Public Schools knowingly kept a predator on its payroll. They allowed this person to continue working with children at Farragut despite having direct knowledge of the allegations and the evidence.
The suit says the security guard kept her job for years after the abuse. No criminal charges have been filed. Damage is being reported throughout Kankakee County after severe weather hit the region last night. The sheriff's office is urging residents to limit travel as much as possible due to trees, power lines, and other debris that have fallen on the roadways. Schools in Kankakee District 111 are canceled for today. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt agrees it had to be done.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack if we didn't do it. They were really a purveyor of terror all over the world for many, many years, and it's something that had to be done.
It had to be done. Trump had the courage to do it. Good for him, good for Netanyahu.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. As we move toward the end of the year and look at January and 2026 in front of us, it's worth remembering that January is named after the Roman figure Janus, whose head looked forward and backward. Looking backward, it was a year with some awful moments. We lost one of the youngest and brightest of our age in Charlie Kirk, as well as one of the oldest and brightest of the age that educated all of us, Norman Podhoretz. The conservative constellation weeps over 2025. But as we look forward, we have much to celebrate and build on. Namely, our 250th anniversary as a country which still very much is, as Lincoln said, the last best hope of Earth. And second, a presidency that has sidelined transnational progressivism in favor of Western superiority. Finally, the hope we all have for the uplift of our fellow citizens and the destruction of the enemies of civilization in a world torn between civilizational abuse and civilizational liberation. From the Salem Media family to all of you, Happy New Year. I'm Seth Leibson.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560 The Answer. It is Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Dan Ryan inbound between the Stevenson and Taylor Street with a flipped-over car taking down 2 right lanes at Taylor Street. So we're looking at 48 minutes from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 13. We've got 38 in on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 25. Stop-and-go delays on Lakeshore Drive northbound between Foster Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. And it's solid on Route 53 northbound between Algonquin Road and Euclid Avenue. And that's all because of construction. 24 in, 20 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound O'Hare to the Burn interchange is 45. Outbound is 37. The Ike is 39 in, 23 out from Wolf to the Old Post Office. This report is sponsored by TextNow. Other wireless carriers tell you when to pay. TextNow asks, what do you need? It's app-first phone service without commitments, credit checks, or a carrier attitude. Built for people who stopped asking for permission. Download today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One of the canards being distributed by the neo-Marxists since the outset of this military campaign in Iran has to do with America's Strategic Petroleum Reserve, where it sits and why it sits there in case it needs to be accessed at the global level. There is a discussion about a significant release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve globally to make up for any potential shortfall in production coming out of the Gulf. Here was what Interior Secretary Doug Burgum had to say about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in America over the weekend.
Back in 2020, President Trump wanted to get the thing filled up to the max, and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats voted against it and called it and President Trump, he's a buy low, sell high guy. He was going to fill it up at $20 a barrel, which would have been a gift to the Americans. Instead, Biden drained it about in half, 400 million barrels ahead of the midterms in 2022 to try to get the price down at the pump. I mean, Biden turned it into his own personal petroleum reserve for political purposes. But right now, I know that internationally, there's lots of reserves. There is a lot of supply of oil around the world, a lot of it floating. Here in the U.S., I mean, President Trump's energy dominance policy for Americans should know that we are completely well supplied in America. We are absolutely not dependent on oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East. We've never been more energy independent and energy secure than right now. There's energy security for Americans. And as President Trump says, this price increase is going to be temporary, and it is a small price to pay for the idea that we're going to get rid of a terrorist regime that has been holding the world economy hostage for 47 years with the threat of closing the strait, taking away their ability to do that, taking away their ability to fund 24 terror groups and kill Americans. That's going to be lower prices and world peace and economic stability for decades to come.
And he's certainly right about that, about America's energy independence, which was achieved in President Trump's first term. And we're back at it. America produced more oil and gas, is producing more oil and gas than ever before. In fact, since 2022, we've produced more than any other nation, including Saudi Arabia. So, but I mean, that doesn't dispel the concern about a global shock to oil supply. But in terms of America's particular positioning, I think Doug Burgum is right, and there shouldn't be panic, although I know that's what the left is attempting to induce. For more on the economics of energy and other matters, Stephen Moore, noted economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Dan. By the way, that was the great little excerpt you played from Doug Burgum. He's exactly right. I mean, I've never been a big fan of having a strategic petroleum reserve. I mean, I'm not so sure we need one, but if we do need one, and if we have one, it should be used for things like when we had Katrina, the hurricane that destroyed a lot of our Gulf of America, capabilities.
Capacity,
and so and then, similarly when you have other kinds of hurricanes or natural disasters or terrorist attacks, I think we used it after 9/11. It makes sense. And so what's amazing about this story is that Joe Biden, and Burgum summarized this very well, we drained the strategic petroleum reserve under Joe Biden's presidency, but there were no emergencies. The only emergency was that he drained our whole energy supply because of his idiot, net zero green energy crap. Remember the first thing he did when he was president was cancel the pipelines. And so my point.
Well, the emergency was his reelection. That was the emergency.
Exactly. That was the emergency. He had to bring gas prices down because his policies led to, the biggest increase ever. My point is, and I'd like your thoughts about this because, even my own team, we have disagreements about this. It seems to me this would be a good time to draw down some of the oil in the reserve because what's going on in the Middle East, which is going to be temporary, we will get the Straits of Hormuz back open. But for now, why not, as Doug Burgum said, it would be good for the country, but also we'd make money on it because we'd be selling the oil at a high price and we could refill it with low prices. But anyway, what do you think about that? I think it would be a smart thing.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the IEA, the International Energy Agency, and the possibility that they would release a significant number of the 1.2 billion barrels of oil they have in reserve that may.
By the way, where is that even stored? I didn't even know the IEA had a big reserve until I read that story. So I wonder where that oil is. But
well, I don't I don't have particular coordinates, but this is what they allege to have, and so if they move in that direction, that may not. That may help a little bit. They may not. We may not need to, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I ask is I wonder who even has control over the IEA. Is that the European Union? I don't even know who has control of that oil. But my point is that the one of the lessons we've learned from the last few weeks is we need to produce as much oil here as possible and gas, and because the more we do that, the less we're dependent. As long as, Dan, you and I have been alive, I mean, I'm a little older than you, but I remember in the late 70s, when I was a teenager, my parents would load us up at 6:30 in the morning and into our station wagon. I know a lot of your young listeners don't even know what a station wagon is. And we would go to the gas pump and we'd be 14th in line, thanks to Jimmy Carter, the energy crisis that he created. And so we should be producing as much oil as we can, and that is the best solution to any kind of. And by the way, we are today, folks, the biggest single country producer. We now produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia does. But the problem is every time we have these flare-ups in the Middle East, every single time, what happens? It throws a big dent in the American economy like we're seeing right now. So the best solution is to become energy independent as quickly as we can.
Right. For those scoring at home, the IEA, yes, includes the United States, by the way, as well as Mexico, a bunch of European countries, Japan, Korea. Mm-hmm. So
okay,
the West and Western allies, basically.
Right.
But the other point too is, are we jumping the gun a little bit? Let's just see. We're 10 days in. Let's see what oil production coming out of OPEC countries actually looks like, and how quickly the Strait of Hormuz can be secured so that shipping can occur without incident and so forth. This may all be. I mean, it's fine to start having conversations and start thinking about contingencies, but it may be a little bit quick on the trigger to make a decision like that.
Well, so there's another element to this story, Dan, that's really and I just learned about this a few days ago because I've been saying, why don't we draw down oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? And it turns out, and I don't exactly understand why this is the case, but the fact is that Biden took so much oil out of the reserve, for his reelection purposes. You're right, that was the crisis. He had to get reelected. That now the whole thing is in such disrepair. They're saying they can't take any more oil out of it because it would cause the whole storage facility to be ruined.
You know what we need to do on this, Steve? We need to bring Billy Bob Thornton in. We need Landman to come in and figure the Strategic Petroleum Reserve issue out.
Exactly. So we don't really what that means is we don't really have a strategic petroleum reserve because it's been so drained by Joe Biden. So you can't make this stuff up, folks.
Okay. The jobs report in February, much discussed, was not particularly well received. There was some pretty good spin efforted by people like Peter Navarro to talk about the government's employment is shrinking. That's a good thing. American-born job creation is up, and foreign-born job holders down.
Yeah.
So that transfer is a good thing. But, if you're not growing, you're not growing.
Yeah, it was a bad report. It's hard to put any kind of lipstick on that pig report. It was a loss of jobs. And I guess the question is, what is going on here? Because we've seen a big slowdown in job creation for the last couple of years now. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. Now, clearly some of it is due to the fact that we've deported a lot of criminal aliens and a lot of self-deportations. And by the way, this is why it makes no sense to be going into Home Depots and taking people off, raiding these factories and these agriculture fields. I mean, if somebody's in the country here working, I don't think most Americans think it's very wise, and they're not a criminal. Why would you forcibly take them out? Well, I mean, they're not doing any harm to the country. Let's just put it like that. And so and by the way, that policy has been a real disaster for the Republicans. Everybody's in favor of getting rid of criminal aliens, but people who come in the country and work, they're assets to our country, not liabilities. But my point is, do you also have a situation right now where we have about 11,000 Americans retiring every year? I just turned 66, by the way. I guess I can retire now. And I'm a boomer. I don't know if you're probably too young to be a boomer. But,
I'm way too young. Not even close. Nice try. I'm Gen X. I'm fully ensconced in Gen X.
That explains everything, by the way.
It really does.
And I'm a boomer. And my point is, we have 11,000 people every single day in America retiring and going to Florida, Palm Beach, and we have 8,000 people entering the workforce because it's just demographics. So that's another reason we need more immigrant workers, because do the math. We're losing 3,000 net workers every single day, and so there's
I just have to intercede there because I'm sure some of my listeners are going to want me to. So, but just let me to you to address this, and we've talked about this before, so I know where you're coming from, but I mean, the way to do that is to have a sensible immigration system that contemplates guest worker programs that disincentivizes welfare. And so I just want to include that in
I completely agree with that.
Yes.
And you and I are on the same page on that. My only point is that I think that we are having an issue with respect to an available supply of workers. And the other problem, Dan, is something you and I have talked about for years on this show. We are graduating kids from college that are not ready to work. They don't have any useful skills. I mean, sorry, if you have a philosophy degree or an ethnic studies degree, the employers aren't going to be pounding on your door asking you to come and work for them on a computer program. So this is the problem. We have a mismatch between what colleges are teaching our kids and training them for, and then you wonder why not just pay $200,000 and train young people to do things that are useful? They'd probably be much better off in their life. And look, I'm not against a liberal arts education. I got one myself, but come on. I mean, we got to make sure that the kids are graduating. The first thing they ask when they start their job is, well, where's the transgender bathroom? That doesn't go over too well.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Where's my breakfast nook and my sleeping pod? And yeah, right. Exactly. All that. I mean, it's interesting because, there's all these things that are seemingly at odds with one another. For example, earlier this week in your very good Unleash Prosperity newsletter, we got the data is, I know the New York Times reports the rich are getting richer at the expense of everybody else because, economics is a zero-sum game, but that's wrong. And you properly provided the context that shows, everybody is getting richer. When you look at gains of wealth gains in real dollars over the last 50 years. But the problem is that half to two-thirds of people. Well, it's not fair. One, that whole issue, the class envy issue or the income envy issue. But the other issue is that half to two-thirds don't feel like they're getting richer.
Well, so this was an amazing story that was a news story, and I think it came from the Wall Street Journal saying, look at the rich are getting richer at the expense of everybody else. And you look at the chart, and it shows, how much wealth has gone up by various income groups, and it shows for the, richest 1%, it's gone up like 800%. But what's so interesting is that every group had a big increase in their wealth, even people in the bottom 50%. Had a 400% increase. Now, this is not adjusted for inflation, but even with you adjust, it's still a huge gain in wealth. And they're saying, instead of saying, look at how wonderful this is, everybody in America is better off, they're saying, but these people are getting off faster than these people are. So we've lived through an amazing period of wealth creation. One of the real tragedies of that story, by the way, is if we had just let every young person or working middle-class person in America, and even low-income, minimum wage workers put 10-12% of their paycheck into an index fund rather than the black hole of Social Security, they'd have like 3 times more wealth today.
Mm-hmm.
But to let them, no, that's too risky. No, it's too risky to let young people put their money in the stock market, and so therefore, that single decision by Democrats probably did more to reduce the wealth of the middle class and low income people than any decision ever.
Well, has your optimism about this calendar year and it being a one of explosive growth been dimmed at all by recent events?
Yeah, it has. I mean, look, when you get these disruptions like we've seen with the Iran situation, and I know everybody has very different opinions on that, and I'm not an expert on foreign policy, but yeah, that certainly has been a disruption, and it's caused higher oil prices, obviously, and when oil prices go up, inflation goes up, so that makes it more complicated. But before we break off, Dan, may I just change the subject for 1 minute and
Please,
say
go ahead.
that you've buried the lead here, Dan. You've broken the first law of journalism.
Oh, my goodness. I'm not a journalist. God, how dare you call me a journalist?
The most important story of the week, which you read in the hotline, is that this is the 250th anniversary week for the most important book ever written, maybe other than the Bible.
Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations.
Yeah, Wealth of Nations. And I'm just going to end by saying it is the most amazing coincidence of history that the 2 greatest documents promoting freedom in the history of the world, arguably, which, of course, would be the Declaration of Independence and Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, were written 6 months apart.
That is very good. Wow, gosh. Now the other most important book. I don't know how this.
Speechless there, didn't I?
Well, I'm just trying to think. You said the most important book of the last 250 years. And I just want to know where Michelle Obama's Becoming fits there, because I thought that was no, it's the Wealth of Nations.
That was a pretty important one. I agree. I stand corrected.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
And he joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Phil Energy USA is seeking an HR specialist in Kokomo, Indiana to conduct hiring, screening, interviews, onboarding, handle HR operations including complaints, evaluations, advise management on employment regulations, implement HR strategies, maintain HR records using management software. Must have U.S. bachelor's degree in HR, business, social science, or a related field, and 6 months full-time equivalent experience, including internship during school year as an HR coordinator or closely related. Experience must also include assisting with recruitment and onboarding processes, facilitating company policy training, and understanding and ensuring employment-related compliance. Salary $53,000 per year. Mail resume to C. Jin Kim, 312 North Union Street, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Tidora Brown, running for Congress in Illinois' 11th District. I'm not a career politician. I'm a mom, homeschooling my kids through today's chaos. I'll fight for real education choices, not bureaucracy. Schools that educate and not silence parents. District 11 deserves safe communities and real economic growth. Your cash, your community. On March 17th, make the right choice. Choose Tidora Brown, the only candidate who can take on Bill Foster. I'm Tidora Brown, and I approve this message.
This is Sean Thompson. One of the things I remember about spring is listening to my grandfather walk around and say, opening day, it's just around the corner. He used to think those were the two sweetest words you could say during springtime because he was a big baseball fan. And for most people, that's the case. It's one of the greatest American traditions each spring. But you know, there's another great American tradition that isn't far off, and that's called Tax Day. Well, opening day and tax day show up around the same time each year. We don't look at them in the same way. Well, you're optimistic about your favorite team. When's the last time you felt optimistic about stroking a big check to Uncle Sam? It doesn't have to be that way, and all you have to do is call Tom Fortino, the people at Alpha Wealth Group, who believe that baseball is a seasonal game, but tax planning goes on year-round. So if you don't want to write a big check in your retirement, and you don't want to have your Social Security or Medicare premiums affected by it, call Tom Fortino and the people at Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary retirement roadmap. Call them at 630-864-6711. That number again is 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:08, we're going to talk to Jeffrey Kane about the Chi-Com surveillance state and how the Chinese communists are Trump's ultimate target in the military campaign against the Iranians. He'll connect the dots for us. Bottom of the hour, a CBS expose on benefits fraud in California. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
We just got a key update to the economy. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The inflation report for February coming in just like predicted.
Month over month, a gain of 0.3% expected. Year over year, a gain of 2.4%. That's the annual rate. Again, year over year as expected. That's also the previous number we got for January CPI.
That's Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni. This check of consumer prices, though, is pre-war inflation. The price of oil is back up to $87 a barrel this morning. Gas is up another 4 cents. AAA's national average for regular, 59 cents higher than before the conflict started. And Iran keeps trying to disrupt fuel supplies, bombing 3 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. They've also been putting mines in that strait. The U.S. has destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying boats. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum just told Fox.
President Trump has made it very clear the consequences if they try to do that. And there's a lot of options between ourselves and our allies in the region, including our Arab friends in the region, to make sure that those straits keep open and that energy keeps flowing.
And Iran's also been firing drones into Gulf countries that have been shot down. And
overnight, more Iranian ballistic missiles soared through the skies of central Israel. Even just a few minutes ago, we had sirens here in the second largest city of Tel Aviv. Many missile interceptions taking place overnight.
Fox's Trey Yingst also reports from Tel Aviv.
Thousands of targets in Iran being hit by U.S. and Israeli planes. The Israelis telling Fox News just about an hour ago they launched a new round of strikes against Iran and Hezbollah positions.
Now, Fox's Steve Harrigan's an Armenian near the Iran border.
From Iran's chief of police, a stern warning to his own people, saying that any protesters out on the street will be treated like enemy combatants, that they will be killed. He said security forces have their fingers on the triggers.
This after a crackdown on protests before the war killed thousands in Iran. At least 2 people dead in Lake Village, Indiana after a tornado hit. Also damage across in Illinois. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Kankakee has suffered extensive damage after being struck by a large tornado yesterday afternoon. That tornado touched down about 50 miles south of Chicago, causing major damage on the south side of Kankakee City. Officials are urging residents to stay off the roads as much as possible due to downed power lines, uprooted trees, and other hazardous materials on the roadways. Despite the extensive damage, no major injuries were reported. Tornadoes were also confirmed in northwest Indiana. In addition to the twisters, golf ball and softball-sized hail rained down in the Chicagoland area, causing damage to homes and cars. CTA officials have announced their plans to increase security. The transit authorities say they plan to increase police patrols by 75%. Officials say they also plan to increase policing hours by 34%. Finally, officials say they plan to provide 30 shelter beds for unhoused riders at a cost of nearly $1.7 million. CTA was tasked with creating a more comprehensive safety plan to protect riders and employees by a March 19th deadline or risk losing $50 million in federal funding. And authorities are confirming that the body of a man who went missing last fall in Blue Island has been located. Dan Davis was last seen on Bourbon Street in Blue Island in November. Family members say a Cook County Sheriff's deputy gave Davis a ride after he was involved in a car accident earlier that evening. Body camera footage shows Davis appearing disoriented. His body was located on Monday near the 3300 block of Wyerton Road in Blue Island. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Profit University and The Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but it's time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Oracle shares are up more than 10% after the software company reported a very strong quarter with revenue jumping 20%. The report calms concerns about it spending billions toward building artificial intelligence data centers. Oracle also raised its forecast. Wall Street will be reacting today to the latest update on inflation, the Consumer Price Index for February. Crude oil prices are narrowly higher, but still off the highs of early this week as investors continue to monitor developments with Iran. Cintas, the company that supplies businesses with everything from uniforms to first aid, is buying UniFirst, which also provides clothing for staffs. The deal is valued at $5.5 billion. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Scott Jennings sets the record straight.
Donald Trump has been 100% consistent on his views on the Iranian regime going back to 1980. And since he became a political figure in the United States, he has been crystal clear that he will never allow Iran to possess a nuclear weapon.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Casey Klebeck, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Our country faces serious challenges: rising taxes, rising costs of food, housing, and health care. I'm running to change that with a bold agenda that puts working American first. My plan eliminates taxes on real estate, Social Security income, and retirement income. It removes taxes for students and young married couples, creates 5-year tax holiday for new small businesses, and delivers free prescription drugs for seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. I'll take no salary. My seat will not be bought by lobbyists. My only client is you. I want to be your voice in Washington, fighting every day for lower taxes, secure borders, safe communities, a retirement you can count on, and keeping the promise of the American dream alive for the generations to come. Please vote for me on March 17. I'm Casey Klebeck, and I approve this message.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast.
We're the side with the mean stuff? Are you guys kidding? You call us Nazis. You call us fascists. You call Donald Trump Hitler from the left. Really? We're the side that's the problem. You're out assaulting ICE agents every chance you possibly get.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Hey homeowners, did you ever think that improving your home could be easy, fun, and affordable? Well, it can be, with just one quick visit to the free admission home show this weekend in Crystal Lake. This year's show is better than ever, saving you time and money on thousands of the latest home improvement products and services. From interiors to exteriors, from decor to outdoor, you'll find it all at the free home show this weekend at the Crystal Lake Holiday Inn. For details, visit crystallakehomeshow.com today. That's crystallakehomeshow.com.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast.
We're the side with the mean stuff? Are you guys kidding? You call us Nazis. You call us fascists. You call Donald Trump Hitler from the left. Really? We're the side that's the problem. You're out assaulting ICE agents every chance you possibly get.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Hear sound teaching from God's Word from Dr. David Jeremiah on Turning Point each weekday morning at 9:30 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. On the Jane Addams westbound, there's a crash just after Route 53. On Route 53 northbound, stop-and-go delays between the Jane Addams and Euclid Avenue because of construction. 24 in, 29 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. Stop-and-go on the Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Bird Interchange. 60 minutes in, 55 minutes out. The express lanes jammed from the Hubbard Street Tunnel to North Avenue. The Ike is 46 in, 29 out from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 38 in, 12 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. This report is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home and business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. CBS News. Well, strike a blow for Bari Weiss here. She may not be able to turn CBS into a consistent news organization, but she may be able to have her moments. This seems to be one of them. And it speaks to the, fraud task force that Vice President Vance is heading up with Dr. Oz, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. This expose on hospices in Los Angeles that CBS News did. Pretty good, pretty damning. It's the kind of thing that at least until Barry Weiss got to CBS, we have to rely on independent journalists on the ground doing some gumshoe work, knocking on doors, as Nick Sorter and Nick Shirley and others have done. We visited ground zero, quote unquote, for hospice fraud, L.A., California. And actually, when Vance and Oz had that presser last week, Oz mentioned it. So it's not like it's not obvious. And if it's obvious to independent journalists and concerned citizens, as you'll hear in this report, then you can be sure it's obvious to elected officials as well. They just don't care. Fraud in the system is a feature, not a bug, because dependency is the game for the left. And when we're talking about Los Angeles or Minneapolis or Chicago or New York, we're talking about dependency being the name of the game. You want a loyal, responsive electorate? Keep people on the end of your string. Adam Yamaguchi playing pickleball with a 69-year-old woman who supposedly was in hospice care.
Oh, you got a point. Woo, that was great. Let's do it again.
Lynn, you are old and in hospice, so I would be a little bit more proud about my accomplishments, but
69-year-old Dr. Lynn Ianni just ran me up and down the pickleball court. But 2 years ago, she was, according to Medicare records, dying in hospice care.
I was in treatment as physical therapy, simply because I had a kind of an injury on the pickleball court. The administrator at the office was like, they're not going to pay any of your claims. And I was shocked. They said, you're in hospice. And I said, what? What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? Do I look like I'm in hospice? She goes, no, I know you. And when
Ianni's Medicare number had been stolen and used by a company to fraudulently enroll her in hospice care, which she obviously didn't need. That meant Ianni had no coverage and no easy way of getting unenrolled from hospice.
obviously this was a major hassle, lots of phone calls, lots of paperwork. What were the medical consequences?
I was terrified. I mean, something can happen. That's why you have health insurance of any kind. And just to think you're literally without coverage because of some ridiculous, fraudulent thing.
My name is Adam Yamaguchi. I'm with CBS News.
A CBS News investigation found an industry ripe for fraud, especially in California. Companies accused of overbilling, real patients denied care, and it's costing hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. The hospice Ianni was fraudulently enrolled in is called Fortuna. When we called, no one answered.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time.
The state of California increased monitoring of the hospice industry 4 years ago, identifying the hallmarks of fraud. Fortuna has 2 of them, and it's hardly alone. CBS News analyzed every hospice licensed in LA County, more than 1,700, and checked for the same warning signs the state used, like multiple hospices packed into one building, or caregivers whose patients, supposedly at death's door, are discharged alive. 3 years after the state crackdown, which included a moratorium on new hospice licenses, our investigation found more than 40% of agencies still show at least 3 of these state-defined indicators of potential fraud.
Highest concentration of hospice care businesses in the country, I think on a per capita basis. 42%, as you just heard him report, 42% of those 1,700 show all the earmarks of a fraudulent operation. And, starting with the concentration. And you see Yamaguchi, the reporter you heard from there, going to particular sites, just as we've seen before, the Quality Learning Center and these other daycare centers or health transport companies or autism services providers in Minneapolis. You go to them, it's a one-room office door in a big office building with other similarly oriented businesses, and mail is stacking up. You can see through the window or the slot. Nobody answers the phone. Yeah, the voicemail is full. Gee, let's see if we can piece this together. You really need to be Joe Friday to break these cases wide open, don't you? And, these are particularly sickening, like the autism case. People with a family member with autism that actually need services and for which the Medicaid program was intended to support, and those they're getting less access to less quality care because people are frauding the system. This is, like violent crime, both a domestic and imported problem. But it's a problem writ large. A problem writ large brought to you by the purposeful lawlessness of the left. And in some cases, the incompetence or willful blindness of Republicans, too. I'm not absolving the Republican Party, even if they're in minority positions in these states. They could be doing the same sort of dogged work that you've got independent journalists doing for their YouTube channels, for goodness sake. But, I mean, let's start with the people that are actually in charge of these systems. And that includes the federal government when you have a Republican administration, which is why it's incumbent upon Vance and Oz to move with alacrity here, along with their federal prosecutor partners at the local level, along with other federal agencies putting the arm on state agencies and holding up funding, just as they have, suspending funding to places like Minnesota until and unless we see an audit and some accounting for where the money is going and some interdiction of fraud. Yes, on the law enforcement side, but how about on the programmatic administration side so it never has to get to the law enforcement side? 312-642-5600 if you want to give us a call or text on this. Text from 773. 2 years ago, at the age of 58, I received a bill for money owed on my prenatal care. Right. I'm sure with interest. Anyway, this continues. Adam Yamaguchi, again, the reporter that put this piece together, touring L.A., going to hospice businesses that ostensibly provide hospice services with a hospice advocate. Like Yamaguchi could find this woman, but no state officials could? I doubt it. I'm sure there has been interaction or, an attempted interaction on her part. She is somebody who advocates for people in need of hospice care. And this is how that went.
So Victory Boulevard seems to be a hotbed of...
Yep, you can't throw a rock without hitting a hospice.
Sheila Clark, a hospice patient advocate, took us to what she described as the ground zero for hospice fraud. A 3-mile stretch of Los Angeles that's home to nearly 500 hospice company offices.
There's one hospice here that hits all 6 of California's red flags of possible fraud.
Well, there's no hospice there.
Legal office.
Yeah.
With a ton of mail just sitting there.
Yeah, look at this.
This agency, VML, hit every fraud indicator in our analysis and billed Medicare roughly $49,000 per patient, about 3.5 times the national average.
They need their curative treatment. They need they need to be taken care of. They need to know that they can get what they need when they need it, not hit a roadblock because somebody's scammed them.
The number you dialed is not in service.
Clark tells us when offices like these close abruptly, it's real patients in desperate need who pay the price.
How does that make you feel as somebody who deals with patients who need this?
Sad. Really sad, because I talk to them every day. I'm sorry, I can't.
I'm telling you, this issue could be a paradigm shifter in this cycle, this election cycle. People of goodwill will not stand for this. And this stuff needs to be pulled out root and branch. Everywhere. Yamaguchi sits down with the new Kamala Harris, the current AG of California. And you get the typical political response. Not that this is all on him, actually. I mean, let's be fair. It starts with Gavin Newsom, as far as I'm concerned, and the federal government. But there is no interest in, as I said before, interdicting fraud. This shouldn't be solely a law enforcement action. This should be a programmatic management issue, right? As he's talking, 42% of 1,700 alleged hospice providers meet the earmarks for fraud, and nothing's happening. I mean, except a handful of prosecutions on the state attorney general side. What are all the program administrators doing?
I wonder how they can go for a full year and still not have their license revoked. Is that a systemic failure?
We need to be responsive to the red flags and react to them, not just count them, but do something, take action. Our main lane is the accountability side, the criminal investigations, the civil investigations. That's after the damage is done, though, unfortunately.
State Attorney General Rob Bonta says his office has brought hospice fraud criminal cases against 109 defendants and about 24 civil cases.
What would you say to citizens who are throwing up their hands and saying, how long is this going to persist? Is my government doing anything to protect my taxpayer dollars?
Again, I share it. I have the frustration. So to the citizens that remain frustrated, I understand. I share your frustration. Please know that we have increased our efforts. We're working overtime on prevention and on accountability, and we will continue until hospice fraud in California is rooted out.
Yeah. Okay, Rob. Sure. Do you want to mention any names on the other side of the House, in the governor's mansion, in the state legislature in California? The administrative state? At least in Minnesota, you had a couple of hundred Department of Human Services workers blow the whistle on Field Marshal Tim and the boys and girls there. We had $5 billion fraud in the unemployment insurance system, and every day there are more stories about COVID fraud in this state. Anybody want to hold Jelly Belly? Kwame Raoul, Chris Welch, Don Harmon, your General Assemblymen and women, all the noblemen and magistrates in Springfield, including the constitutional officers, accountable for any of this? Or are we just going to do what Tim Walz is doing in Minnesota? Watch the feds conduct investigations and prosecutions and claim victory?
I think Minnesotans have to recognize is you're hearing about fraud in Minnesota because we are prosecuting people. You're going to hear about it in other states. You're going to continue to see it.
Who's
but
the
we? Fix is you don't.
Who's the we? You and Keith Ellison and the mice in your pockets? It's the federal prosecutors. You guys aren't doing anything and didn't do anything. In fact, there's a lot of evidence per Ellison's testimony on Capitol Hill the other week that you suborned the fraud, not to mention fingers being pointed at Walz, not to mention a House Oversight Committee report that says he knew or should have known. What you guys are doing, you're targets of those federal investigations as far as I can tell. And I hope that those enterprising prosecutors doing investigations where the state has shown no interest in California, in Illinois, New York, Maryland, Connecticut, Maine, Washington State, documented cases. And it's not just the Quality Leering Center, Quality Hospice Car businesses. Yeah, maybe that's a tip-off. As I said, domestic and foreign, American fraudsters and people in this country illegally committing fraud. Round them all up. Tom in Oswego, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
To come in and issue a code red, because this is getting ridiculous. I wake up every morning, listen to your show, and read on the internet about all the fraud. I think the first thing that should alarm people is that there's 1,700 hospice providers in what, LA? 1,700?
Yes. Yeah.
Do we need that many? As a contractor of 35 years, This is the issues I have every day, the layer upon layer of government regulation, phone calls, emails, all the different screening devices people have that you can't get in touch with anybody. If I'm $10 short of a tax deposit, or let's say $100 short, trust me, they're calling, they're not calling, they're sending letters, certified letters. We'll do this if you don't pay this, penalties, fees, interest. The people that are paying the way here are chumps. And I feel like I'm one of them because there's not much I can do when I'm working 60, 70, 80 hours a week to just try to keep ahead and try to retire with some dignity and a little money in the bank. And I'll tell you, my son, who works in the HR department of a big hospital alliance, says, and he's a smart guy with numbers, says, Dad, I would bet 40% of the government revenue is fraud. 40%, and I don't doubt him.
40% of the government revenue is frauded. You mean it's stolen?
Yes, frauded.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
40, and now he might be wrong here and there a little percent, but I don't doubt him.
I'm not sure. Thanks for the call, Tom. I'm not sure I doubt him either. I mean, you heard CBS News, 42% of those 1,700 hospice care providers, in scare quotes, have the earmarks, I repeat again, have the earmarks of a fraudulent operation. I mean, that's nearly 700 of the 1,700. And you're talking about, especially depending on how long they've been able to fraud the system, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, maybe into the billions. And that's just one sector in one big city in this country. You start to extrapolate what that could mean nationally, and yeah, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. I have no doubt. And the reaction you heard from Tom and Oswego is the reaction you're going to get from most commonsensical people, across the political spectrum, at least to the sort of center left. I mean, once you go over the edge on the left, it doesn't matter because they're unreachable, which is why I say, and not just because it's the right and proper thing to do to root this out, but the even in the era of Trump derangement syndrome, you're going to get some people that may despise Trump, but they're not going to countenance, if it's presented to them in a way that they can't ignore it, they're not going to countenance this because it's exactly what he said. People who play by the rules, and this has been the case for a long time, been talking about it for 20 years, people who play by the rules, particularly in the middle, who get fleeced on both ends by people who can game the system on the top end and people who are essentially transfer payment dependents on the other end. And they're tired of it. And that's what the Tea Party was, and that's what the Trump revolt in 2016 was. And now it needs to be consummated, because if it doesn't get consummated in a substantial way, not just with electoral victories, but with policy victories, then people will throw up their hands. Deborah in Arlington Heights.
Hi, Dan. Yeah, what Tom said, I do feel like a chump because I pay a lot for insurance, and then I've got a high deductible, and I have to pay these, amounts that are ridiculous when I get things, tests done and stuff. So that's how I feel. But I drive by every day. I drive by a behavior center, but it's an autism health center thing. And so when the whole thing started coming up about Minnesota and California, I looked this place up because I was curious, and it's got people like, accusing them of like not providing services and stuff. So maybe we need to do a deeper dive in Illinois because we've probably got the same problem here.
Oh, probably. I mean, it's without question. There is no doubt. You think they're just getting away with it in Minneapolis and L.A. and it's the same, people that are similarly oriented don't exist in Chicagoland and Illinois running the same scams? You think that they've figured out the vulnerabilities of the system just in a couple of hamlets, but not the rest of the country? We've seen the same things going on in Maine, in Washington State, has been documented by our friendly independent journalists. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is so much bigger than what has been unearthed so far. This literally is the tip of the iceberg, what we've seen so far. Right. I guarantee it.
Right.
Guarantee it.
Right.
Thanks for the call, Deborah. Let's check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 36 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. According to officials with the National Weather Service, at least 4 tornadoes touched down across our area yesterday afternoon. Crews from the National Weather Service will be inspecting sites in Kankakee County as well as Jasper and Newton counties in northwest Indiana. The tornadoes caused widespread damage throughout the area, but no major injuries have been reported. Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing to create democracy zones near Chicago's polling places to protect local voters from ICE. The Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. Fair Access to Democracy Ordinance would ban federal immigration agents from entering so-called democracy zones outside polling places. A special city council meeting is scheduled for today to possibly vote on that measure. And several residents are concerned after a doll wrapped in black was found hanging by a noose near a little free library book box on Chicago's north side. 49th Ward Alderman Maria Haddon reported the incident to police and released a statement condemning the display. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things happening in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. If you're a business owner with unfiled tax returns, tax season is not your friend. This is when the IRS turns up the heat. They match 1099s. They review payroll filings. They compare bank deposits. And when returns are missing, they don't send you a warning. They take action. Penalties stack up fast. Liens become public. Bank levies can drain your account. I see it every year. Good business owners who waited too long. Not because they're crooks, but because they were overwhelmed. Let me be clear. Hiding makes it worse. Action makes it fixable. I help business owners get compliant, file what's missing, and negotiate from a position of strength, not fear. Don't wait for the next certified letter. Don't wait for a levy. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll tell you exactly what to do next, step by step. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. Act now before the IRS acts first.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Ted Dabrowski. I'm running for governor to breathe new life into our party and improve the quality of life in our state. Let's be honest about how we defeat Pritzker. Victory runs through the suburbs, and Darren Bailey is a disaster in the suburbs. To renominate him is to concede defeat. It's why Pritzker wanted to run against him 4 years ago and wants to again. Do you really want to experience these headlines again?
Governor J.B. Pritzker will serve another 4 years in office.
This was a resounding victory for Governor Pritzker.
The race was called just minutes after the polls closed.
Pritzker had a sizable advantage in Chicago and its suburbs.
I am the only candidate who can win the suburbs and end Pritzker's reign. It's why leading pro-lifers, American firsters, and conservative reformers support me. Republicans should always nominate the most conservative candidate who can win. That's me. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Wacker Drive and North Avenue, all because of a crash at North Avenue. Southbound also slow with rubbernecking delays. You've got delays on Route 53 northbound between the Jane Addams and Euclid Avenue, all because of construction. 19 in, 27 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. 61 minutes inbound. Outbound is 50 on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. The inbound express lanes are jammed between Pulaski Road and Ohio Street. 46 in, 32 out on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. 45 in, 34 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. And the Dan Ryan from 95th to Burn Interchange is 41 minutes in. Outbound is 13. This report is a service of Aleve. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout your day. With just one pill, Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches and pains hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be cloudy, windy, and cooler with periods of rain in the morning, transitioning to a rain or snow shower in some areas this afternoon. The high will reach 43 degrees. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 28. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny to partly cloudy with a high of 50. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We poured over this very good piece by Zainab Rabua, who is a scholar at the Hudson Institute, that she wrote in the Free Press right at the outset of the military campaign in Iran, called The Iran Strike is All About China. It's really, really good. This is obviously somebody who is following this area of the world with very closely and with keen insight, which is always helpful. We learn. And it's a perfect segue because our next guest picked up on her work and developed it some. Let me just provide an excerpt or two that sets up the conversation. The central problem. President Trump didn't launch Operation Epic Fury only to punish Khamenei for his massacres. Trump launched it because every year Washington spends focusing on managing Tehran is another year Beijing gets to build control in the Pacific. The orientation of the Middle East will determine whether the U.S. can prevail in the defining confrontation of this century, a Chinese move against Taiwan. Why? First, in a Taiwan contingency, the sea lanes through which China imports roughly 70% of its oil become contested. Beijing will need alternative energy sources that will look westward to Iran, Russia, and any other Gulf state willing to sell outside the dollar system. If the Middle East has already drifted into Beijing's economic orbit by the time this crisis arrives, China begins the confrontation with a strategic energy reserve that American planners cannot disrupt. Second, the U.S. cannot fight a two-theater war. A Middle East that demands permanent crisis management bleeds the American military of the ships, aircraft, and munitions it needs for Pacific deterrence. By contrast, a Middle East restructured towards stability, where Iran's proxy architecture has been degraded and Gulf partners are aligned, can be managed with a lighter footprint, freeing decisive combat power for the Pacific theater. And finally, if a Taiwan crisis comes, the U.S. will need allied nations to impose punishing costs on China through sanctions, financial exclusion, and technological denial. If Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and others are so deeply engaged in the Chinese economic system that they refuse to curtail oil sales to Beijing during a Pacific war, the entire sanctions architecture will collapse at the moment it is needed most. This is why Iran must be understood as a central pillar of a regional order that Beijing has assembled, and Epic Fury to be understood as cracking that pillar. That is pretty cogent, and don't think that is unacknowledged privately by Trump. And don't think, frankly, in terms of thinking about the timing of this strike, in addition to the assertions by the administration that Iran was on the precipice of a preemptive strike against American interests in the region, that in addition to that timing, or in addition to that factor as part of the timing, that President Trump's sit-down in Beijing with Xi that's upcoming didn't factor in as well. My supposition. Let's get perspective, additional perspective on this. Jeffrey Kane is the author of The Perfect Police State, an investigation into China's surveillance dystopia, and he has a good piece in The Spectator, as I mentioned, building off of some of what Ms. Raboa offered us. Trump's ultimate target in the war is China, so he starts certainly in agreeing with her conclusion. Jeffrey Kane, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be here.
So, build on some of the conclusions that were drawn by Ms. Raboa, including sort of, I stated sort of without explanation or qualification, but there are some assumptions in those conclusions, including, for example, China's relationship with the Saudis and the Emiratis, and what exactly is going on in the region that is about much more than just those regional players.
Right, absolutely. So the Chinese Communist Party for the past decade has been reaching across the Middle East into southern Europe and trying to remake a lot of the countries in this region into something that resembles itself. So this is a project called the Belt and Road. It's trillions of dollars in promised investment and materialized investment in roads and ports and electricity and surveillance and every kind of technology under the sun that you can imagine. The goal for China is to push westward and to develop the Middle East into something that would be friendly to itself, that would supply stable oil, petroleum, that would become certainly trading partners, and that would have other uses. So the various corridors that go through. And so what's happened, this has been a decade-long project. I spent many years in a lot of these countries, and I saw the hand of Chinese influence coming in. But what's happened now with the strike in Iran is that this new world order is up in the air. It's something that's no longer certain. And Trump is going to walk into a trade summit with Xi Jinping on March 31st, and this question is going to be hanging over the meeting.
And you argue that Xi comes into this meeting, but particularly after Operation Epic Fury, assuming that it continues to go as successfully as it's going at present. He walks into that meeting not in a particularly strong position, not in the kind of position he was hoping to go into that meeting when it was first set.
Precisely. So Xi Jinping is the current president of China, and what he's been trying to do is to reinvigorate what he calls the Chinese dream. This is the idea that China is a rising power, that it's going to reverse what it sees as past wrongs against it, and the ultimate goal is to create a strong and unified China that's going to reunify with Taiwan. And when they say reunify, what they really mean in the pretext there is the invasion of Taiwan to create what they see as the rightful territory, the rightful domain of the Chinese Communist Party. So what this does, it throws that narrative up in the air. Xi Jinping is he's in a very tough spot because he has to show his people that the economic growth, that the military might is continuing, but he has seen this strike as something that has really taken a chunk out of what his grand plan has been. And in particular, in this case, with the Middle East currently on fire and strike after strike, the big question is, can he continue to get reliable supplies of oil outside the dictates of sanctions that happen something that happens off the books? And this oil is so important because the Chinese economic growth story depends on it. No oil, no growth, and certainly no military invasion of Taiwan in the future, because a military invasion is an oil-intensive project. And if there's no oil, then that whole chess piece falls off the board. So he's in a tough position. Trump is walking in with the upper hand, and Trump can really use this opportunity to get some major concessions from China. We've yet to see what those might be, but it's a strategy that he can use if he wants to.
And just to refresh people's recollection, China buys upwards of 80% of Iran's crude oil exports at steep discounts. So that's what you're referencing. And that's not easy to replace. You could get other oil-producing nations in the Gulf or Russia to cut you, or both, to cut you a similar deal.
Right. Well, it's hard to get to Russia. Russia is dependent on Beijing now, and Russia can supply its oil, which is significant. But Russia's also bogged down in Ukraine, which requires a lot of oil too. There are other countries in the region, so U.S. allies, so the Saudis certainly can supply that oil, and they do to China. But ultimately, the fact that China has been backing Iran is something that rankles a lot of U.S. allies in the region. And when it comes time to choose who they're going to sell their oil to, they're going to sell their oil to the more reliable, stable, longer-term partner. And China is not that, because China is such a new player in the Middle East. So it's a tough position. Xi Jinping, I would guess that he's not sure yet how to work his way out of this one, but he really does, and he said this in speeches in the past, that the goal here is to expand Chinese power across its western front, which is the Middle East, which is Central Asia, and without that key pillar in place, a lot of the other parts of his vision start to deflate and fall down.
Well, then, are you surprised that it appears that Xi is not interested in continuing to provide Belt and Road investments in Iran, at least not right now until the dust settles, but when the dust settles, it may be even more problematic for him?
Right. Well, he's in a tough position, because if he comes out supporting the regime wholeheartedly, it's going to alienate the actual allies of America who supply that oil and can supply it to China. And those, the UAE, the Saudis, there are other countries that are really angry with Iran at the moment because of these attacks. And so Xi Jinping can't come out and just support Iran. It's something that has to stay off the books. But then on the other hand, he's in a very tough position, because if he comes out not supporting Iran, if he lets this slide, then he's signaling to all of his allies across the world that he's not going to come to their aid. He's not even going to back them. There's going to be no money, no weapons if there's some kind of U.S. or allied strike on that country. So he's playing his hand very safe right now. The Chinese government has condemned the strikes on Iran, which is predictable, but they haven't offered much in the actual way of a new investment or an arms shipment or any kind of material support. It's just off the picture right now.
And just to develop the nature of this relationship a little bit more, it's not just Iranian oil. China also provided technology for Iran's surveillance state and its ability to repress its people. And some of that was on display back when the protests started in January.
Absolutely, and that's one of the scariest parts about Chinese power around the world. The Chinese government has developed the most sophisticated surveillance state in the world, and actually first developed it on its western side, so an area called Xinjiang, which borders Afghanistan and Pakistan. That's the gateway into Central Asia and the Middle East, the areas that we have traditionally associated with the war on terror in America. So China's been pushing in that direction, developing this surveillance state with AI, with facial recognition technology. It monitors everybody in the region of Xinjiang 24/7. And if you do anything out of the ordinary, you're branded so they call you a future criminal or a future terrorist. They arrest you for a crime that hasn't happened yet, and they put you in a concentration camp. So this is the technology that they have brought out in Xinjiang, and they've been pushing west and selling surveillance technologies in a lot of these countries, including Iran, including Egypt, had a big deal with them, the countries of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Central Asia. And that's one of the reasons why these strikes are tough for Xi Jinping, because this is where he was building that order. This is where he wanted to see Chinese power at its strongest. But now he realizes he doesn't have that anymore.
So when General Dan Kane said, as he did yesterday, the military objectives ultimately, he used this phrase, to prevent Iran from being able to project power outside of its borders. And, if you look at this in the context of what you have written about here, is that you take that as a tell to understand, look, if we can diminish Iran such that regardless of the regime, the the allied Iran opponents in the region can supervise, babysit them. They can deal with whatever Iran is going to try to do, at least in the short term after this military campaign is open. Then that frees us up to focus the resources that we need to focus on China. That's the point.
That's the goal, and one of the reasons why Xi Jinping loves these governments, why he's a fan of Iran, and the Chinese government has sold arms to various proxies in the region who've been involved in terrorism. The reason Chinese companies and the Chinese government has supported this is precisely because it wants to keep the U.S. tied down in the Middle East. One of the great things for China, one of the great things about U.S. involvement in the Middle East is that it sees it as a distraction. I mean, China's goal is really to expand into the South Pacific, so the South China Sea, which borders its southern ocean region, and also Taiwan, which China sees as a part of itself. China sees Taiwan as a kind of renegade rebel nation that shouldn't exist, and it wants to reclaim it and bring it back into bigger China. But for China to be able to succeed here, it has to find a way to either challenge or distract American power from the Pacific region. The United States has been the major player in the Pacific since World War II, since the war with Japan in World War II, and the naval bases that exist there are a massive extension of U.S. power overseas, some of the largest in the world. Xi Jinping has always been tied down from reaching that dream of expanding throughout the Pacific because he feels closed in by the U.S. So any kind of chaos in the Middle East helps, but by removing the Ayatollah, by doing what he can to make sure that these players are gone, the U.S. can now return to the Pacific and focus on China, and that's something that Xi Jinping does not want.
Jeffrey Kane, author of The Perfect Police State, an investigation into China's surveillance dystopia. Jeffrey Kane, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon, Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Sean Thompson here, and with me today is my friend Dr. Michael Huber, who is one of the creators and developers of Virago. So Dr. Huber, why don't you tell us what Virago is, what inspired you to create it, and the benefits of it?
I created Virago with 23 natural ingredients that work together to create this immune response in the body. I created it to fight viruses in the beginning, and it's turned into a huge immune booster in a liquid form.
Right, and why a liquid versus a pill?
A liquid provides a rapid response time in the body, and it's optimal for absorption. When you swish it and it's in your mouth, stimulating the bitter taste receptors, you get a rapid response. Like within 15 minutes, you can have a decongestion in your nose.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And now you can order a bottle at myvirago.com. Myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha.
Maha starts with Virago.
Making America healthy again.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Your beloved dog and a stranger are both drowning. You can only save one. Who do you save? Every time Dennis Prager asks that question, his audience splits 3 ways. 1/3 chooses the dog, 1/3 chooses the stranger, and 1/3 aren't sure. Why? Because we live in an age where increasingly feelings define right and wrong. But if morality is based on emotion, then murder, rape, and theft are just opinions. And if people feel justified, why is rioting or destruction wrong at all? In his new book, If There Is No God, Dennis Prager explains why civilizations cannot survive without objective morality and why Judeo-Christian values shape the moral foundations of the free world.
If you claim that certain things are good, certain things are evil, independent of how you feel about it, you are in effect affirming God.
If There Is No God by Dennis Prager, available now at pragerstore.com. That's pragerstore.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-348-8569. 800-348-8569. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-348-8569.
AM 560, The Answer.
A Michigan state rep, Democrat named Karen Whitsett, announced she won't run for re-election because her Christian faith is incompatible with her party. You don't say. Quote, "For me, it is impossible to be a faithful follower of Jesus Christ while remaining a member of the Democratic Party as it exists today. I cannot reconcile that platform with Scripture. May she provide an example to others." Thank you for joining us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. We'll be back with more frivolity and a little bit of substance tomorrow, too. It's now 9 o'clock at AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran keeps trying to disrupt the global fuel supply. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 3 commercial ships have been hit in the Strait of Hormuz. 1 caught fire. Iran's also sent drones into Gulf countries, some targeting oil facilities there, but were shot down. And as Iranian boats put mines in that key oil shipping